You're both like exactly on time with each other and about a second behind me in my...
For me, we were all perfectly in sync.
That's so funny.
Not here.
Like I heard no difference between our claps.
Yep.
Yeah,
Computers, networks.
Mhm.
How do they
It's all
work?
magic.
Magnets. That's actually how they work too.
Yeah, that's all it uses.
Well, among a lot of other things. There's magnets involved in places.
I mean, electric magnetic field. There we go, magnet.
CPU is just a fancy word for magnet.
Yeah. It's it's magnet and binary. Pat, what do you got this week?
It's called Wildermyth. I'll put it in the
I have seen that on Steam.
Yes, I had Steam it. I had Steam it on Steam. I had seen it on Steam as well, and it came out early access this week, and it's pretty awesome. So,
okay.
1, 2.
Let's see. All right. Let's get going.
Let's go.
I'm gonna eat on a musk. I make it a pizza. I eat the meatballs. I don't pay the taxes. Oh. Hello and welcome to episode 177 of the Gaming Fyx podcast on June 19th, 2021. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite E from E3. I am joined today by Alex.
Well, not particularly electric, so I guess I'm an expo.
Are you like the scented expos? Like the
The
markers,
Montreal.
or... Oh, okay, the Montreal Expos. Okay, I see. They hockey team?
Baseball.
Baseball.
Wait, are we picking favorite baseball teams or favorite?
No. Your favorite E from E3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's Pat talking out of turn.
Yeah.
Once again. Partner's favorite E from E3.
And I mean, I would say it's entertainment.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to be entertained.
Yeah, sure. Are you not entertained?
And I mean, come on, who wants to deal with electronics?
Not us, that's for sure. That's why this podcast is all analog. Reel to reel, baby.
We use use CB radios and
magnetic tape.
And magnetic tape, yeah, exactly.
And Alex,
it's actually being etched into a cylinder.
Have you ever used those things? They kick ass.
I used them in Dishonored.
Well, I used one in a museum once. It was not. I've never owned a.
Yeah, I've not. Whatever.
Cylinder record player. Yeah, my uncle
I've
had
a record player, but not a
cylinder
cylinder. Yeah. What are those called? Sonograph? I don't.
Edison
remember.
sonographs. That sound right.
Yeah.
Phonograph.
Yeah, I can never remember if it's phonograph or sonograph. I think it's sonograph because phonograph is to communicate.
Isn't that?
No, it was Edison. It was Edison phonograph.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably stole it too, Edison.
I saw an Edison phonograph at Greenfield Village at the Henry Ford Museum. It sucks that museum is still called the Henry Ford Museum. One day that'll change, hopefully, in Detroit.
Yeah. That's how did we get here? What are we even doing? Electronics. Analog. We're all analog, right? Yeah. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Only when you use that PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, is it on the PlayStation 2 controller? PlayStation 1, you got to hit that analog button so you can use the sticks.
I think it's on the. I think there was DualShock 2s with the DualShocks, whatever. I think there was a PS2 controller with the analog button.
Maybe.
Well, now
maybe because maybe it was like a legacy thing for like PS2 or PS1 games or something.
I think that's why.
Maybe. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah,
Bizarre.
PS2
They shipped
controllers.
a thing without joystick. That's that's. I never had one of those. The dual shock without the analog.
PS2 controllers totally had the analog button.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. They were backwards compatible. You could, like, they were the same controller, just like slightly updated. Like you could plug a PS2 controller into a PS1. So
Yeah, I don't know that there was any difference other than the color, actually.
I assume they like updated like the motors and stuff.
Why?
I don't know.
I wouldn't have updated the motors. I would have just slapped a new coat of paint on that and said, gamers, you get what you get.
Fair. That's totally fair. And then they just made it wireless for the PS3.
Uh-huh. Well, they have the triggers were different on the PS3.
True, they did. And then
I don't want to call them triggers because they were awful. The R2 and L2 were different.
The
Those
mushy
things sucked.
mofos.
Yeah, they were like super, super mushy. You're so wet, Cat. Why are you wet?
Were they different on the? I don't even remember the PS3 controller that well. Like the triggers, I played that a lot.
Why is
He's
the
wet.
cat so wet?
He's wet because he plays in the water dish and splashes it all over the floor and then like sits
Rolls
in it. Yeah,
Nice.
not quite rolls in it, but sits in it.
Nice.
It's a constant battle.
He just wants a little bath.
Well,
Little
it's
toe beans.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of toe beans, I see on the stock here, Alex is back on his bullshit.
What does that have to do with beans or toes?
I don't know, Alex. You tell me.
What it means is that Alex played another visual novel.
Yep.
About cats, I assume.
Nope. Well, not thus far.
Are there beans
I
in
was
it?
going to say, it is not safe to assume that there are no cats in a visual novel.
Right. Not as far as I am in it. So the way my bullshit started again is I started playing Umineko again.
I was going to say, I actually, that was my Hail Mary, was that you started playing Umineko again, but I just went with visual novels so that it was a more hedged bet.
But then I realized I probably shouldn't. And I'm going to maybe make that.
Do what you want to do.
Yeah, but I was like, you know what? I love this thing. I'm just going to make it like a maybe every other year kind of tradition to go back and play it. But not right now. I'm going to give it a little bit, give it another
It's not
year.
that long ago that you played it.
Exactly. It's been within a year. So I'm thinking, give it like a couple years. It'll be my thing I return to. So yeah, I got like an hour into that and I was like, you know what? This thing kicks fucking ass, but I'm just going to listen to its soundtrack for a while and do some other stuff. And then I picked up the House in Fata Morgana, which I've been hearing.
I've heard a lot of good things. It had like a really high Metacritic score for a while, like as it was getting its first reviews. Like, I think it was as it got localized to the States because it's been out in Japan.
The art is really cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really unique and weird.
Yeah,
I picked it up probably like 3 or 4 months ago and started it back then, but then that's also around the time I just got extremely busy and couldn't play games. So I've gotten back to it and probably like 2-ish hours in. And I would say so far it's interesting, but not mind-blowing. Like, it's not yet a page turner, but it's interesting. So I don't know if I'm far enough in to be able to say, yeah, this thing kicks ass or not. Right now, it's just kind of, it's fine.
I don't know.
It's all right.
This review says this is simply a must-play visual novel, emotionally devastating as it is, but the reward is worth the tears, which sounds like something for you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's like 30 or something hours, I think. So like, being an hour in is still just purely expository, like introduction kind of stuff.
It sounds like it's an anthology kind of thing. Like, like it's a series of stories, not one big contiguous like narrative.
Yeah, because what the basic premise is that you are like somewhere in the future. It could be the present day, but you go into this old mansion and then you're basically talking with the mansion and it's bringing you through its history, like through the past.
I think we briefly talked about this when you touched it last year, but maybe only for like, because I know we
came out on the Switch in April,
or maybe it was within a few talked months, about it. Maybe we didn't talk about it in the cast, but I'm positive that this concept was one that we discussed because it sounded really interesting.
Yeah, it very well could be, but yeah, because I did pick it up like months and months ago, but just hadn't gotten back to it. And yeah, it's good so far. It's fine, but not yet got the hooks in me. And it is very much an anthology. I've been through like 1.5 stories, and they've been related so far. So we'll see what happens with the next one.
So currently on Metacritic, it's got a 98, and it's only got 8 media reviews, but that puts it behind The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Grand Theft Auto 4, and then The House in Fata Morgana, Dreams of the Revenants Edition.
I think
then
those
Soul
are
Calibur, Grand Theft Auto 5.
They're not my
Soul
favorite
Calibur?
3 games, but
Soul Calibur for the Dreamcast. The first Soul Calibur has a
What?
98.
It's a
on
fucking good
Metacritic.
game.
It's a good game, but why is that like number 5 or 6 on Metacritic?
I'm glad that The House in Fata Morgana is breaking that up, because those top 3 are not my top 3 favorite games, but I can certainly see an argument for like, yeah, okay, those are all.
Grand Theft Auto 4
all-timers.
is 3 spots higher than Grand Theft Auto 5.
Grand Theft Auto 4 is a significantly better video game than Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, that's fair. 7 is Super Mario Galaxy, and that's a 97.
Yep.
6 to 2 are all 98, and then 1, Legend of Zelda, is 99.
Dang, it's Gretzky.
Where's Wayne Gretzky's? What is it? What was his hockey game called?
Oh God.
It wasn't Slapshot. That's what I want to say is Wayne
remember.
Gretzky's Slapshot, because that sounds good.
Wasn't it
And
just
now
Wayne Gretzky's hockey? That's
Might
all I
have been.
remember.
we need to get somebody to make a game called Wayne Gretzky Slapshot.
I do not see a
Blades of
Gretzky's
Steel.
doing these
game,
days.
a Wayne Gretzky game on Metacritic. It might predate their.
Pathetic, disgusting.
Oh, it has to be from like the early 90s.
It is, but
Yeah. But yeah, House in Fata Morgana. I'm going to continue it. That's all. It's really not that much to say about it so far, other than it seems interesting, and apparently it's really good.
Wayne Gretzky hockey is from 1988.
Wow. Earlier than early 90s then.
Metacritic reviews old stuff. Citizen Kane's on there. Anyway, I didn't mean to derail. This sounds like a cool VN. This is not one of the ones. Occasionally, much like I'm sure how everyone goes, oh, Pat played another weird halfway sim crafting game or something. Sometimes with visual novels, I'm there emotionally, but mostly to support my friend telling us about it. This one looks like I'm very interested to hear how you get on with it, because this one looks interesting to me in a way that not every visual novel is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when it shows its other side.
Yeah. And I want to hear about it, because I know myself well enough to know that the odds that I actually get through it or ever play it are slim, but I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
It's one that I'd like to check out, possibly, but then there is like, will I stick with it? Because I know what I want to come to a visual novel for, and if
Girls,
it's murderous bears, and weird puzzles.
And
I like that.
Breaking the fourth wall.
That's cool.
And like just lots of murder. That's what I want in my visual novels.
Then do I have you know what Umineko has? Lots of murders, and it does have a bear.
Okay, well,
teddy bear. But...
Oh well, is it sentient?
Yes.
Okay, well there you go. That's okay. I guess I've been
kind of.
I'm saving myself for Danganronpa on Switch, which I will hopefully finally play it then.
We'll get to that
because you love the Switch so much.
Well, but the Switch would be fine for a visual novel. It'd be great for those games.
No, it would be an ideal way to play those games. We'll get to that.
V3 was a Vita
we'll talk
game,
about the Switch
wasn't
stuff a little later.
They
all
was a
three
Vita
were
game. They placed. What was not one of them a 3DS game or something? No, that was the 999.
Yeah,
that was
the
DSLR 9999.
Yeah. They I believe all of them were out on the Vita, even if they, by the time 2 and 3 rolled around, they may have also made them on console at the same time. But
I just remember it being
Yeah.
like first or primarily on Vita for V3 specifically because it's the most recent.
Was it?
But
I
pretty sure.
thought that one was
Like
contemporary, like was on
95%
console.
sure.
Oh, weird. Cause I assume the other ones, but now I got to look it up because now you just got me. But let's see, PlayStation 4, PS Vita. Yeah, so I think it released on PS4 and Vita at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
yeah. I thought you were saying Vita first. I was like, what? But yeah. Anyway, that's the House in Fata Morgana.
kind of. Yeah. Hour in, not enough to say.
and
But it started again.
Yeah, there's a lot of good buzz around it, at least. So that's good.
I am reading both Berserk, which I just finished volume 6 of, and I started reading Elantris last night.
Okay. I got to read that at some point.
It's sick. It's talk about 2 Dark Souls ass stories.
That is, Brandon Sanderson says that's the 6th book he wrote, but is this first one he got published?
It's the first one in the
Cosmere.
The Cosmere, yeah. I know that it's frustrating for me to do the thing with that, but
no, like I want to get back to that stuff. I didn't realize when I started Stormlight that they're all like connected, and I've got like a minor spoiler for like the Cosmere, but it's just like one character.
Apparently, Sanderson said the reason that he connected them all. You're done, right, Alex? I don't want to move away if you had more to say about House of Fata Morgana. The thing he said was like, I don't want it to be a situation where people have to buy 40 books to enjoy a series.
Like Wheel of Time.
Yeah, but if you're interested in it, then there's this big vast thing. And I was like, sir, you have not met me. If you tell me there are 40 pieces of media in your series, I'm gonna start with the first one that you published. And then go from there. But it's I only read the first chapter, but it's very good. It starts and it's just like this horrendous, awful place where it's basically Dark Souls. I mean, it's like it came out in 2005, I think. So it's not.
You're just a little fucked up man, aren't you? And you're going to have to fix everything, you little fucked up man.
Well, it's like the concept is like these people get, I forget what it's called. Shoda, I think, or the Shoud, and the
Mike
means that they're
Shinoda?
dead, and they get like black splotches all over their skin, and then they get dumped in this city that used to be like when you used to have this happen to you, it like made you into a god, and you got to go to this paradise city. It's this walled off, massive like square city, and now you get dumped there, and you basically turn into a hollow where you're dead, and you can't. Like everything that happens to you, it just like if you get like your arm cut off, your arm's cut off, and now you just have to live with like the feeling of having your arm cut off, and it'll never heal. And like if you get like the main character like stubs his toe, and the guy that he meets there is like, your toe's gonna hurt forever now because it never heals. And so like, and you can't die because you're already dead. And so like people are hungry and they're starving, but they can't die of starvation. So they just feel what it feels like to starve for eternity. It's like super fucked.
Oh, goody.
And there's like a character that gets like his neck like broken open by a club. And they're like, well, what do we do with him? Because he's like laying there like what would be dying for everybody else, but he can't die. And he's just going to be like that forever. And the guy's like, I don't know, like we could try burning him, but we don't know what that actually does. Maybe he'd just float around in pain. His soul would float around in pain forever. So we can't make that choice and stuff. It's brutal. I was shocked at how, in a good way, I mean, I like that stuff, but I was like shocked at how violent and rough it was. I was expecting it to be a little more high fantasy, I think.
I was expecting it to be a lot more Mormon.
I don't get the impression that his Mormonism really hits the books that much, because I know a lot of people who like his books who are pretty easily turned off, like myself, by stuff that pulls too heavily from religion, or like
yeah,
those kinds of like modern religions.
He seems like he's does a pretty good job of like, hey, it's not like Christianity. I'm not trying to push that in these books.
If
from
anything,
what I've seen,
this stuff seems like the kind of thing that would be more offensive to most Christians than anything.
Like some like Harry Potter type, like it's witchcraft,
but not Harry Potter type racism or transphobia so far.
Yeah, like there's some stuff like,
I'm sure there's plenty of
this. Well, I mean, Stormlight Archive, which I finished the third book. I think the second book is my favorite so far. I have to read the fourth book, but I got a test coming up in like 2 weeks that I got to prepare for. But like the story has a lot to do with like basically slavery and like social class and like the upending of a lot of that stuff. And the third book really goes into like, maybe we're the baddies in this case. And like, I feel kind of bad for like being in this war, and I don't want this war to be going on. So he does a pretty good job of like threading that needle, I think. But yeah, the Brandon Sanderson, damn good writer.
I mean, I've known Mormons in my lifetime that are like, well, I can't watch R-rated movies, but I played Doom 2016 because technically video games haven't made it into the book yet, so we're allowed to play M-rated games. And it's like, okay, well, it's clear that you're not necessarily very committed to your.
It's a letter of the law, not necessarily the spirit.
Yep, I've also known Mormons who have a far fouler mouth than any of us combined. So
yeah, well. It's kind of wild, the kind of myths that we make up for ourselves.
Here we are,
guide our lives. And what is it, Pat? What do you?
I played a video game. I don't know if it's pronounced Wildermyth or Wildermyth. I would assume Wildermyth because it sounds like wilderness.
Sure,
but I don't know.
I didn't even think. I was always saying Wildermyth in my head, which
Wildermyth sounds.
Wildermyth also makes sense. So
yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it came out of early access like 4 days ago, and I had been looking at it for a while, and I kind of was waiting to try it and didn't try it in early access because it seems super ambitious, and I was kind of like, I don't know if they're really gonna hit the mark on this because it seems like pretty tough to make a game like this, but it has like incredibly good reviews on Steam, so I decided to pick it up, and it seems really cool after a couple hours. It's a role-playing game, but it's very reminiscent of board games in a lot of ways. It's not quite full on, this is a game we would have made as a physical board game, but it was easier to make a video game. It's not that, but it has a lot of inspiration from things like Gloomhaven and even the Lord of the Rings. I don't know if they were inspired by Gloomhaven or Lord of the Rings, Shadows of Middle Earth, but both of those come to mind while I'm playing it. So it's like this RPG where you start off by picking a campaign, just like an overarching story that is authored, and then you make a party of characters. It has this really pretty paper doll, like pop-up book kind of art style. You then make a party of 4 characters, and you can control all kinds of aspects of the character creation, but it also just kind of procedurally make them. So I just stuck with the procedural characters it gave me because I thought they were interesting, and it builds their like backstories and their stats and all kinds of like traits and stuff. And then you start the game and you get some story setup that again is authored. And there were like 10 at least story campaigns you could play that I saw. There was a bunch of them. And I'm doing the sort of tutorial one. And then you sort of spend the early game setting up the relationships that these characters have. So like and it's all done with a very pretty kind of almost 3-panel comic book thing where the story plays out in like sort of a comic in the middle of your screen, and when you make choices, you're kind of picking panels to place in. And it shows your characters in the panels with whatever their like gear or stuff that they have had happen to them or whatever showing. So you get to kind of see visual representations of these characters in the story stuff. And so like I set it up so like, oh, two of the characters are together in a relationship, and one of them is really good friends with another one of them. And then they can develop different kinds of relationships over time based on that narrative stuff. And then once you get through that early stuff, you're kind of on this world map, and you have not a vague objective, but you have a goal to hit to end the chapter, but you're kind of going around hitting these different locations on the map. And then when you go into them, you get story, and you make choices and stuff, and it's like reading a little comic book for 5 or 10 minutes. And then you go into these tactical battles that have like a pop-up book aesthetic, and you're moving around on the map and fighting these enemies. It's relatively simple, but I think still complex and interesting enough that it's not like super boring, because the characters do get new abilities and stuff like that. And then you're finding like gear, typical RPG stuff, but it's much more like a tabletop game where you might find like a sword after you do a battle. It's not like you're looting a bunch of bodies and getting a ton of stuff. So your characters are slowly kind of building out their arsenal. They're leveling up. They're getting new passive and active abilities. It kind of does the thing where there's sort of two paths. It feels like you can take each. I've only seen 3 classes so far. I think the game has more, but you can kind of take them down different paths. And then once you complete the chapter objective, the chapter ends based on stuff you did on the map that you spent time on, because time is kind of the one resource that goes away. You're getting like crafting materials and stuff, and then a significant amount of time passes. I don't know if it's the same for each campaign. In this campaign that I'm playing, 9 years happen between chapters. So 9 years go by, and they tell you kind of what your characters were doing during the time of peace. And then they get their story thread to do the next chapter. And your characters age. They can die of old age. They can, of course, there's permadeath, and they can die in battle. They can have kids. Although it seems like it's just a random dice roll. It doesn't seem like you have to get them in a relationship, because one of my characters who is not with anybody else in my party had a kid. And once he was 18, he joins the party.
Some Crusader Kings do it then.
Yeah. And it all feels, again, like it's not so, it feels complex without feeling complicated, I think is what I like about it, is that it feels snappy to play. It doesn't feel like there's a huge hurdle. You can read like all the tutorial prompts in a menu, and it took me, I just wasn't sure if it was going to show them to me. So I read them. It took me like 10 minutes to read them and go like, oh, okay, I think I get it. And then the rest of it, you kind of pick up while you're playing. Which is what I really like about it so far, is it doesn't get in its own way too much. And you get a good mix of like, how do I want to go about managing my time on the overworld map? How do I want to do these narrative choices now? And how do I want to do this combat? And it's all like pretty quick. You can save scum too, so it's not too punishing. You can turn on an option for a single save only, but by default that's off. The difficulty they start you at is really easy too. I'm kind of blowing through it. And then the idea is, as far as I know, once you finish these stories, you can, and like heroes can like retire and stuff. And then when you play other campaigns, you can pull in characters that you used in the past. So there's kind of like this overarching like mythology you're kind of building of different characters that you've played with, that you can have them go on sort of different adventures and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. I haven't seen much of that yet, because I've just been playing this one save.
So is there a like unified timeline or anything like that? Or, like, is it all kind of happening in parallel, or is it just like, oh, these are just characters that you have and they're available, we don't care about the world that much, or don't care about it?
No, I know what you mean. I think it's the latter, because I don't know how they would do the former two, but also they imply it's much more like you're building a world that is contiguous. So I'm not sure. I believe like the way that the maps roll out is procedural. I think the only thing that isn't procedural is the actual writing within the narrative pieces.
Yeah.
I actually at first I thought this is not meant to, no offense to the author. It tells you who the author is of each segment up in the corner, because they clearly got a bunch of contributors to do different quests and stuff.
Hideo Kojima game. Oh, you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 5, so you don't understand.
But I admit, and it gets the writing, and this particular writer's writing, there's some that I've really appreciated. But when I first started it, I thought that the writing was also like AI generated or something, because the opening narrative stuff from that tutorial quest reads really weird at first. I was like, what are they talking about? But I think it's just an attempt to try to mash up a lot of choices you could have made about the characters and stuff in a way that fits. So I don't mean to pick on it. And it gets, again, really interesting. There's been some really fun stories that I've enjoyed quite a bit in that are kind of micro things. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with the board game feel, because like it refers to every so often a card, they call it, gets added to the enemy deck. And it's like a modifier for one of the factions of enemies you can run into that makes them harder. So that's like one of the reasons why you want to complete things before a certain time, because if you just dawdle in the first chapter, then the enemy can get a ton of cards in their deck. And it feels like when you go to a location to do a battle or a quest, that you're drawing a card from a deck and it's giving you like the stuff, because that stuff is not, there's like the overarching plot of the campaign that you're selecting at the beginning, but the individual locations you're visiting are all a big deck of cards that you can draw from across different campaigns. Characters will get opportunities sometimes that pop up, and you can either take them or not. And those are all very like randomized, I think, when they can come up. And it's really interesting so far for especially for something that's like $20. I think it's very much worth checking out if you're interested in like RPGs that sort of go for that kind of tabletop feel. The combat feels very much like a tabletop RPG to me. Like it uses percentages instead of dice rolls to convey your hit chance and stuff. And it certainly has the XCOM thing of like, I had a 90% chance to hit and I missed. But the abilities feel like they come from tabletop games to me. They feel very compatible with something like a D&D or you know, old school role playing systems. So it's pretty neat. And there's so many little touches, like when you get a new weapon, it'll have a name and you can rename it if you want and rewrite the description of it if you want, or you can accept the procedural one that it developed and stuff, which is kind of cool. And yeah, it's a very interesting thing. I had kind of been looking for something like this for a while, a sort of like adventuring game that didn't have 100-hour long main plot that I needed to play through. Like I'm in chapter 3 now of this tutorial campaign after 2 hours, and I'm guessing it has 4 chapters. But then again, there's like 10 different campaigns you can play. So I think there's plenty of playtime you could wring out of this thing. It's just the campaigns themselves are shorter than a big thing.
Does it seem like the campaigns, even though they are authored and stuff like that they are replayable?
I think you could certainly replay them. The one thing I would say that is maybe a slight knock is you kind of have to buy into what they're selling you with some of this stuff, because if you, for example, I think you have to be interested in all 3 parts of this game, of the, how do I want to spend my time on the overworld? And there's different like tasks you can do to like improve tiles and stuff like that while you're on the overworld. I think you have to have a little bit of an interest in that. I think on a strategy level, I think you have to have a little bit of interest in the narrative stuff. And I think you have to have at least a little bit of interest in the tactical combat, because if you, for example, just clicked through all the narrative stuff to do the combat, it would be different each time, but the battles are usually pretty similar in terms of enemy. It's just like any other tactical RPG, right? Like
it's Fire Emblem.
Yeah, there's like each faction, there's like 5 enemy factions. There's 4 of them active in the campaign I'm playing right now. Each faction seems like it has between 4 and 8 maybe types of enemies. So, you know, it's not like, it's fairly good variety, but it's not like limitless. But I do think you could, if you were into all that stuff, you could replay it. I'll say you don't really make, at least in this tutorial campaign, I don't know how it is for the other ones, you're not really making story choices. The choices that you make are more, they more affect your party and bonuses you're getting and the relationships between your characters. They have less of an impact on the plot of the campaign. So I don't know that you would get different story outcomes from game to game, but that may be something that is there in the other campaigns. So I'm not sure. I will say I was kind of like looking at the overworld map stuff as seeming fairly simple in terms of like, okay, well, I have like 5 regions and I need to finish this in 300 days, this chapter. I have 5 regions. Each one's going to take like 20 days to explore and fortify to get the most out of it in terms of crafting materials. Because in between chapters, you're crafting upgrades for your characters. And so it was like, okay, well, I can just do this math and it doesn't seem that hard. Now, though, the map has expanded in chapter 3 and I kind of want to go off in 2 different directions. And I have 6 characters. So I could split them into 2 3-person parties to send them in 2 different directions, which is kind of cool. It feels like something, and because you can save scum, I'm going to just try it. And then if one of them gets totally fucked up, then I can go back and take a different approach, or live with it too.
Make a new party or like, you know, like, oh, okay, that kind of worked, but oh, maybe I need to swap things around or something. Yeah.
And it's impressive how with, you know, just over 2 hours of playtime, I feel like these characters have already like been through a lot and they have identities to me and stuff, even though they were procedurally generated. They also have a pretty good range of different, like you can set, they don't have like male or female, they have masculine and feminine bodies. You can set their pronouns independently of their body type, including non-binary characters. And you can set their like their sexuality can be set independently of like their pronouns and their gender and stuff. So I think they do a good job allowing you to really make characters that you identify with, like so you can you know really embrace the kinds of characters you want to see in these stories too, which is nice. And of course they have like really good different options for like different skin tones and hair types and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely worth your time if you're interested in one of these, because it's all kind of tied together with crunchy enough gameplay to stay engaging at least for several hours anyway. I do hope that there's more classes, because I think I would over the long term like to play with different classes, but in all of their art they show things like dragon people and stuff, which I believe is like high level weird skills you can get to like morph into animals and things like that, which sound cool. And like just something I haven't gotten to yet with these characters. And it's interesting because like these characters are all now in their 50s that are in my party. I have like one of them's kid who's 18, one that I recruited in the last game who's younger. But my like original core characters are all like 50 years old. So I don't know if the different campaigns offer different classes and that's where I'm seeing some of this weirder stuff or what. But it's interesting. The way they handle, the last thing I would say too, is the way they handle magic is interesting. The Mystic class does this thing that they call interfusing with different objects on the map, and the different objects have different spells attached to them. So instead of having a spell book of like 20 spells, it's like, okay, well, you interfused with this bench, so he can explode the bench and do like splint and send the splinters all over the place. Or you interfuse with this rock, you can either have the rock like shoot a shard of itself off as a discus that can bounce around between enemies, or you can use it as like a rock shield for one of your characters standing next to it and stuff. And that stuff is kind of neat. If you see like a lamp, like a in a city, like in a town, if you see like a standing lamp, once it's ignited, which it won't be if the fight's during the day by default, but if it's at night, it'll start that way. Once it's ignited, you can cast the spell on it to shoot the fire from it onto enemies and stuff. So the way that magic stuff works is pretty cool.
Nice. That's one I've definitely seen on Steam, and I was like, oh, this look is really cool.
Yes.
And immediately wishlisted it, and cool to hear that you're enjoying it. And
Yeah.
pick that up at some point.
I'm not quite sure how long its legs are in terms of the amount of narrative content there. It's hard to tell from where I am, but definitely seems worth it to check it out if you have an interest in it. Again, it's only like $20 right on sale right now. So
yeah, I was under the impression for some reason that it was like more roguelite-ish, I guess. But I guess since it's got like campaigns and saving, it's not.
I think it's more that it's roguelite-ish in the same way that XCOM is. You know, like I think
because it's not exactly the same every time.
Right. It's designed for you to play it over and over again, but it's not like hard to get through it. And you're having to try over and over again to do it. And, you know, there's difficulty options. You can set it however. Like I said, there's like 6 difficulty options, and I think they start you on the like second or third one. I can't remember, but the one that I'm on is very, very doable. It does not, you have to think just a little bit, but otherwise it's not that bad. I had a character die once, and I save scummed it because it was just sort of a silly decision to put him where I did. But yeah.
Cool.
All right. That's Wildermyth or Wildermyth. Who knows? They don't even say it in the game. They don't have like Wildermyth.
I do
at like the title screen.
I don't remember.
They have the Resident Evil guy, Wildermyth.
Well, it's funny because the aesthetic is reminiscent of the Book of Shadows stuff at the early parts of Village.
Yeah, sure.
I will say too, I don't want to give it like too praise that's too crazy because I haven't played enough of it yet, but this definitely seems like one of those ones that if certain critics got a hold of it, I could see it blowing up into the like indie darling kind of hit, because it's got a lot of charm. So I think if you have any interest in these kind of games, it's worth looking at.
Like an Invisible Ink kind of thing.
Perhaps, yeah. Perhaps the same person who was super into Invisible Ink.
Exactly. That's exactly what came to mind when you said that.
maybe. All right.
Then it would become Walkermyth.
Texas Ranger.
End myth.
Well, you were mentioning that thing about the lamp and the shooting the fire, and
Were you playing Thief?
No.
Hell yeah! Let's play Thief.
I played a game with like, it's kind of a lamp. It's more like a candelabra. Is it a candelabra? I don't even. Is that the thing that hangs? Is it like a
candelabra? Is like
that's like the tall thing that you put the candles in for light, right?
Yes.
It's like a lamp, but with candles.
Right, but with like multiple candles.
Yeah. It's not a menorah. That's completely different.
Yeah.
I'm playing Chivalry 2, and
there are candelabras you can hit people with.
Yeah,
there are not menorahs you can hit people with. That would probably be a little more insensitive.
It's like, you know, that was the moment where I was like, okay, this game's really good. Like I was having fun the whole time, but I was
Chivalry 2 fucking rules. I played a lot of that this week too. I just knew you were bringing it. I've already mentioned it once. So.
Just, you know, in a town square fighting, and then I see these dudes running out of like, you know, a church or something, carrying these big candelabras in like one hand and like an axe in the other hand, and they're just like swinging and beating people down. It was really something. Chivalry 2 is very good. You can run up to like wells in the town and pull out fish.
And throw the fish at people.
Throw the fish at people. Like,
is that? I don't remember that in Chivalry 1. Was that there?
No, it's a lot more.
Okay.
It's not.
It's a lot more dynamic than Chivalry 1. I mean, you know, Dan Riker, while streaming, threw a knife at a body that was hanging and above people, and then it fell and killed someone.
I didn't know it could kill people.
That's great.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's
Okay,
so
fantastic.
I mean, a lot of this is morbid if you think of it in real life terms, so I understand
Yeah.
that, but it's so funny when
totally.
you're like trying to beat a gate down, there's like murder holes the defending team can throw rocks down from onto people, and when someone gets hit in the head with a rock and dies in front of you, it's just so fucking funny because it's just like this physicsed out rock hitting them, and then they just kind of go limp and fall.
Yeah, it's a game
Really
of
good.
well, it's a series now, I guess, but it's a game of
Yeah.
excess. Like it's pushing
Absolutely.
everything. It's like turning every dial all the way to the right.
Yeah.
Yep. To everyone just running and screaming. Ah!
Oh man, does Chivalry 2 have anti or low grav servers? Because that was my favorite
I don't
thing.
know if
Not yet.
there is yet,
Okay.
but
I'm sure they'll have
I
options for
assume
that kind of
they
stuff
could put
eventually.
it
It
in.
was
Like there's
so
a server browser and
good
stuff. But,
in Chivalry 1 because like when you're falling from a certain height or you've fallen for enough time, they start screaming. So when you're in a low grav server and
right,
everyone's jumping, and by the time they reach their arc of falling down, everyone's just screaming.
That's
So
funny.
it's really
Yeah.
funny.
Wow. Yeah, it's a very good game. I have mostly been stuck on the defending side, which sucks, and then I'll get like auto balanced to like the attacking side when it's losing too bad. I'm like, this
The
sucks.
auto balance is one thing I really
so
dislike.
brutal.
Yeah.
And like they put in bots to like try and even it out, but you know they're bots. They're not going to be good.
In some matches, there are extra bots as well that are just like padding.
Like
How big are the matches?
You can do up to 64
nice.
players. Yeah, I don't like. There's a few different like matchmaking. There's 64, 40, and then like free for all. I don't know if there's a difference between 64 and 40 and like what you can do.
I don't think so. I think it's the same
it's
maps.
just smaller game size. Okay.
Yeah. The 40-man games might all be the
crossplay
death match. No, the 40 play games might be all death match, which you can get if you matchmake for 64 players. Sometimes but I think it drops you down in player size when that happens. I'm not positive how that works.
I think it was full like 32 per side.
There might be some that are like that. I don't think you can do 64 players on the arena map, not the tournament grounds, but the pit, the one with the pits.
I've only done the 64 player lobby,
I guess,
and I've played it, but I don't know if they
I think so. The reason I say this is all that the matchmaking does is find you a server to drop you on. You could find the servers yourself in the server browser.
Sure.
And I think sometimes those servers, if there aren't 64 players in the server, they can throw out a 40 player map, but I'm not positive how that works. So I could be totally wrong. I haven't examined it because I don't care that much.
So,
I have played that map you're talking about. It's good.
So Andre, are they matching you into Japanese servers, or
yes, I am currently playing in like Asian servers.
That's
just
good to know.
Location based.
Yeah,
that was that was one thought I had, because ping is relatively important in that game. And once you were saying it, when you said you got it, I was like, oh no, I hope that there's servers that are populated that aren't totally
there's
ping.
It's like combination Chinese, Japanese, like there's like some English speaking folks, and there are a lot of Chinese in the chat.
Their netcode, I will say, is pretty spectacular. I think, because like I'm playing primarily with my friend in North Carolina in the US, and I'm about as far away from North Carolina as you could possibly get while still being in the same country. And we both, the servers it matches us on, I think, are usually the US central servers, because it's right in the middle, and we both end up with like 40 ping. So
I've definitely seen people with zero ping, and I'm like, excuse me?
I think those are bots, but maybe not. It does say when they're bots.
They don't look like.
It tells you when they're bots. So
they didn't look like bots.
Is it P2P?
No,
or is it
I think
hosted on
it's
dedicated servers?
I think it's dedicated servers.
Yeah, because if it was P2P, that would make sense. But
yeah, exactly. That's what I was like. I was wondering, like, is someone hosting this game? But
maybe, I mean, maybe if it's in regions with lower populations or something, there might be some P2P shit happening. I don't know.
Because like there are definitely moments where it wasn't like a full server, which is but that's whatever, because it's still enough people to be fun and chaotic and ridiculous. when you've got like 5 dudes swarming like one guy who's just trying to parry every.
It's so
like,
funny when like one person gets surrounded by people and just gets fucking wrecked, and then they fall down on the ground dying, and everyone just like kicks the shit out of them. Like it's hilarious.
That does sound so morbid, but when you see that game in motion, it makes total sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
And then people just like, slapping their teammates and downing them, and and so they've got like, I don't know what was in Chivalry 1. I played like the tutorial of Chivalry 1 on like my friend's account or something, but like trebuchets and ballistas and stuff and catapults, and the catapults are just out of control when they hit things, because everyone just like explodes into the air, like 10 feet into the air. So and like you don't even really see like the impact of like the rock or whatever.
Not if you're the one just getting killed.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, and like even if you're like, I was watching, like I was up on a wall doing like some archer stuff, and I would just see like people out in the field just exploding into the air, and I was like, wow, that is unexpected.
Oh my god, sorry. I'm watching a video of Chivalry 2, and this person just picked up a chicken and is just holding this chicken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can just like, there's all sorts of wild stuff in this game.
The 2 biggest innovations coming off of Chivalry 1 that they've done is, one, they reworked the way combat works so that it still has the concept of dragging in it, but it doesn't look like, it's not like Chiv 1 where like it's people like spinning all over the place and looking ridiculous. It looks like actual fighting now, while still having the same core fundamentals. And then you can throw everything. You can throw everything as a weapon. One of the Vanguard classes can take 2 primary weapons, and the idea is that you throw one of them and then have the other one. So you can just like overhand a Dane axe and kill someone with it, and
pull out another one,
and then pull out another one to use in melee. There's an archer class that I really like that's like a javelin thrower. And so instead of clicking a mouse button to fire a crossbow or a bow, like the other 2 archer classes, you throw javelins. And it's very fun.
And then like you can pick up like ballista bolts that have been fired, or javelins that have been fired, pick those up and take them over. So yeah, it's just a very good time. I got it on PC, and it's annoying. There's like an issue with Bluetooth, I guess, in the game. It's
weird.
Where, like as soon as I get to the main menu, it cuts out audio in my headphones. So I played without headphones, and that's fine. It didn't need to be on headphones, but
you need to turn up the volume for every time you hit C.
My partner was not having it when she heard, like, she was amused by it, but she's like, I can't be in here. I cannot listen to this, because it's just people yelling. And sometimes you get like the people who like sound a little like hesitant or like scared.
There's different voices you can assign to your characters.
That's great.
It's really funny.
To be clear, C is the scream button for listeners who have not played Chivalry.
Battle cry, please. So I heard this listening on the Bombcast, but I didn't like go and look it up until and then I started playing, and then I heard it. Greg Miller did a voice of one of like the NPC villagers who's in the game, and he did the absolute worst like British accent. He sounds like some old granny, and he's just
he did one of the voices that's in there.
Yeah, he did one hilarious. Of the voice of like an NPC villager who's just walking around, and they'll talk to you. And I was like, oh my god, like I wouldn't have known it was Greg if I hadn't heard sense on like the Bombcast, but I was like, oh, that's 100% Greg Miller.
That's funny. That game's tone is just perfect, because it's very Monty Python, and
that's what he sounded like. That's what Greg sounded like.
But it doesn't go all the way into, it's not trying too hard. Like there's been games in the past that have tried to do that like Monty Python aesthetic, and they go too hard for it, and they just kind of like rip off the visual style of those things. This is still like, there's still like a veneer of seriousness about it. Like,
like we're fighting for honor, and we've got a
the systems are really good.
Although I don't remember, I didn't write it down, and I should have. Do you know the Battle of Wardenglade that like kind of dark map where you're in a field and it's a team deathmatch.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of that match, there's a character who's like, we fight for our homeland and fight for our honor.
Yeah.
And then you like charge and then you get control of your character. I did a game and it didn't do this for my friend who was in the same game, but it was the like scrawny guy voice. And he was like, what do you mean we can't have eggs on toast? I want eggs on toast. I love, and it was like, I love chestnuts and my mummy's fire. We want French fries. We want French fries.
That's amazing.
And I was like, did I get like blasted high or something? Because this is, and I guess it's like some kind of Easter egg or something where like 1 in 1,000 games you can get him reading this like weird monologue. And I'm making up. He did for sure said we want French fries at the end.
That's amazing.
The other stuff I can't remember, but it was definitely saying stuff that didn't make any sense for a medieval character to say too.
That's very good. I think it was on that same map I had, or it might have been like one of the other ones where, because there's a few where they start off with like you're in a line and your dude is giving you like a rousing speech, but on mine the dude was just like flat on the ground, like halfway spawn, like horizontal, halfway spawn in the ground, and like his armor was twitching as he was talking, and like I just looked down and like see this weird twitching mass. I'm like, this is odd, but okay, whatever. It's not important. Yeah, Chivalry 2 is a good game. If you got, is it on only on like next gen PS5 and Xbox Series XS, or is it on PS4 and stuff?
I think it might. I don't remember.
Look, it is on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Xbox One.
I don't know that it has 64 players.
Yeah,
on PS4
probably
and
not.
Xbox One. I think it's maybe 40 max on those servers. But it has crossplay. The crossplay like party system is borked right now, so you can't. Like it not. I shouldn't say that. They didn't turn on crossplay parties yet, from what I understand. That's coming. And I will say we've had some issues with getting into parties on PC with my friends and I, but I think we found a workaround that involves a bunch of junk. So, but basically it seems like the Epic Games friend system is really bad, like on a technical level.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah.
And,
I believe it.
I believe it.
That. Yeah. So it seems like it's tied to that.
It looks like Chivalry 2 on PS4 is 64 players.
Okay, cool.
So, wow.
So it doesn't look too compromised.
Yeah, it's definitely like of a level technically, visually, where it looks good, but it doesn't look like a next gen console game necessarily.
But I would rather it look how it does and run as well as it does.
It's super well optimized, so it works really well.
Yeah,
man,
and it still looks like
60 and 120 frames per second. So
it still looks like a modern video game. You know, like it doesn't look like it's from. I play a lot of these kind of big multiplayer games from smaller studios, and most of them look significantly worse than Chivalry 2.
Yeah. And like Chivalry 1 looked good in its day, which that was what, like 2012-ish, 2011, somewhere around there. So it's not surprising that the same studio would make something that looks great and feels good.
If you watch a trailer, it looks like the trailers. It's not. Yeah. They're very good representations of what the game looks like and plays like, what you do in it. It's also nice because like I really enjoy For Honor, but people who play the totally different game, I'll say, if you look at them and think they look similar, For Honor is a fighting game. Chivalry 2 is not a fighting game. But like playing For Honor, people are so good at it that I can't have a good time really, because I don't want to play against bots, but also people are really good at it. Chivalry 2 is great because even if you're not great at it and the other person is really good at it, that's across the field from you, there's still stuff you can do. It's not like a fighting game where it's just a total waste of your time to even try, because it's also 64 players. So someone's going to come along and beat the shit out of the person that's killing you if you go back into your line a little bit.
Yeah, and they're going to come, someone's going to come up behind or whatever. They're going to get hit with like an arrow, who knows.
I saw a very funny chat conversation once in a game where someone was like, bro, this game sucks. Every time I get into a fight with somebody, 3 other people show up and then I get killed and nobody will let me just like fight single people. And somebody else was like, bro, it's a 64 player game. You're that's the whole point of the game, is that you can't just fight people one-on-one. And he got really upset. They're adding apparently dual systems and servers that will let you do that if you really want to. But
for what it's worth, one thing I remember about Chivalry 1, and I don't know if it's true about 2, is that the community is great. Like really, really open to new players, like, and willing to help, and like they have a great sense of humor. At least that's how it was with the old game. I hope it.
I would hope so, because the game is ridiculous.
Yeah. So,
but
hopefully that maintains.
Yeah, I'm playing mostly with non-English speakers, so I can't speak to that.
I don't know that I would say that the community itself is particularly good, but I never was in the Chivalry 1 community, so I don't know how it compares. This one, it's pretty much like what you would expect from 64 player games with random people on the internet who are mostly shitty, but you can also turn chat off, so it's not really a problem. And I will say this game, it has a pretty robust set of character creation options, including, I've said this before, but including like, they didn't just slap skin tones on super white looking people. Like each face type has a set of appropriate skin tones, and they have, you know, face types that look like Asian and Southeast Asian and like people who are faces who look like the faces that black people have, with appropriate skin tones for them. So it's not like you're just like taking a white person and putting a darker skin tone on them, like in a lot of games. And it has, you know, different hair options and stuff like that. So you can make you can play as women, for example. And you know, technically you could play as anybody, because they don't really assign a gender to them. They might say male and female faces, but anyway, I think that does scare off a certain contingent of people who tend to be interested in medieval combat games, who are perhaps not the coolest of folks. And perhaps maybe they went back to Mordhau, where
that's what I was gonna say.
after they saw that this game is pretty aggressively not for them, and like you can take your helmet off. So like one of my characters, like this badass black lady with no helmet and stuff, and I think that bothered a lot of shitty people. So I haven't seen like aggressive racism or anything. I've seen some like R words thrown around and stuff that I'm not cool with, but no, not as bad as Mordhau's community.
That's I think that's positive in the end.
Yes.
You brought up For Honor earlier, and I was thinking while I was playing that, what if they did like the For Honor thing, where they're just like, we're gonna do like the deadliest warrior type thing. We're gonna pit like samurai versus knights and Vikings, and, you know, bring in like, you know, battle or warriors from like different cultures and stuff, and that would be pretty fun to, like, you know, if they had like a samurai aesthetic and like katana in the game and stuff like that.
So they said I don't know that they'll ever go quite that far, but they did say in the E3 bit that they had during the PC Gamer Show that they have an update coming that focuses on, like, that they're really interested in different time periods, different medieval time periods. And the first Chivalry was particularly focused on the early medieval period in terms of the kinds of weapons that it was. And this one is focused more on the late medieval period, and that their first update, major update, is going to kind of continue that trend. It has a bunch of new armors in it. And then it also has a new map, which looks awesome. But that, they made it sound like the different time periods thing, they're going to go kind of backwards in time with different weapon options and stuff. So they seem to be wanting to support this game for a very long time, just like they supported Chivalry 1 for a very long time, which is encouraging. They have like, I have to imagine at some point they'll start putting battle passes out. Right now they have paid currency you can buy, but all it does is let you buy cosmetic items before you can unlock them through gameplay. And the grind to get them through gameplay is not like crazy. But if you really, really want a certain helmet that you can only get after playing a class for 10 hours or whatever, you can buy paid currency to get it ahead of time. I have to imagine though, they haven't said they're going to do battle passes, but I have to imagine they're going to want to keep making money off of the game to keep developing it.
Yeah.
Which is reasonable. I mean, and
Definitely.
expected.
Hopefully it'll have a long tail too, because
Yeah. Well, and it's also published by Tripwire, so they're not just kind of fending for themselves in terms of the money side of it.
Yeah, I thought Deep Silver was involved with it.
Deep Silver too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what capacity
they're like, it's co-published.
Gotcha.
I'm not exactly sure what the
I wonder if that's in
breakdown
certain
is.
territories.
Might be like Tripwire's North America,
Yeah.
Deep Silver everywhere
It's like
else,
Europe
because
or
I don't
something. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a Tripwire or a Deep Silver logo on my copy, whatever digital copy of the game.
Yeah.
But it could be that Deep Silver is active in like Europe and Asian territories. I don't know.
Could be. Cool.
Yeah, no idea. Okay, yeah, well, that's Chivalry 2. And then also this week, there was a little event. You might have heard of it. Square Enix had a big old, like, I don't know, 40-minute video. It was the hottest shit this week.
Pretty chaotic.
Yeah.
Just, and I'm here to kill that chaos. Just like the McElroys in their hit podcast, The Adventure Zone, where they killed chaos in the most recent season.
Yeah,
that's.
I heard
spoilers.
that season was a banger. It sounded bad.
Yeah. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, which was like kind of leaked and rumored, reported on a couple weeks ago by Imran Khan over at Fanbyte.
The trailer was so stupid. That's one of the dumb, like, it was good. It was funny. I'm not like trying to say the game looks bad because of it, but holy shit.
Also, well, the trailer was dumb and it also looked like a PS2 game.
The game
how is it
shitty too, but I don't know.
How is it in motion?
So it's, I don't know if it's like alpha or beta, like it's not finished, and they've done this with Neo. This is made by Koei Tecmo, Bandai Namco, and they are pretty good about like, hey, we're gonna put out like a sample of the game, we're gonna take feedback on it, and then we'll like adjust accordingly for the final thing.
That's good.
Even playing it like on PS5 in performance mode, there's been some like hitches. It doesn't look amazing, but I'd say it looks mostly on par with what I'd expect from a game like this. Like, and I expect it to like get tightened up, look better, have performance ironed out. It very much follows in the lineage of like a Neo. In like, because that's the studio who is making this game. They're the studio who made Neo 2, but it's very much simplified. Like your attack is basically one button. You're just like R1, and you can like they do a lot with that one button. You can like hold it for stronger attacks. You can combo into other attacks. And then you've got like a special move on R2 that you can combo into. And depending on like, if you'd like R1, R2, that'll be one move. You can set it up like R1, R2 is like another move. So they let you customize your characters in that way.
Right. So is the dynamism, I guess, coming from like switching weapons or timing based kind of stuff?
It's hard to say because so it is coming from switching your weapons, which in the demo there's 3 like classes you can change to. Like each weapon changes your class. I'll get more into that. Sure. But yeah, so yeah, and you're like building out, and you've got like special moves that you can add in there. But like your bread and butter, like your main attack is just like one button, and then you're comboing off that with like, like, okay, R1, R2 is like a different combo than certain things. And on top of it being simplified in that way, like whereas Neo has like all the stances and all that stuff, this game also has a difficulty selection. So if you're like, oh, the Souls games or that kind of game, it's too difficult. I don't want to deal with all that like perseverance and just like getting my ass beat over and over. Like you can put it on easy. So there's nothing to worry about there. I played on normal. I can't say how the balance is on easy, but I think I died once or twice through like the normal enemies on like there was like one room with like a ton of the bombs, like they're fire and they get big and they blow up. There's like 5 of those in like one like hallway, and that room was like a pain in the ass. They did a cool thing in that room where there's like fire, or not there's fire there. Yeah, there's fire because they breathe it, but there's like a bunch of foliage in that room, like tall grass. And if they light that on fire, it burns. And then if you're in the grass, you'll get hurt, which was not something I expected from the game. But then in like a, it's a much less expansive. It's a kind of a linear
a room.
I think the structure is going to be very similar to Neo, where you're like selecting missions, because that's kind of what the feeling I get from the menu, because it did have like abandoned mission, but maybe that's just kind of a holdover in their normal terminology. I don't know. But there was a room where like I ran up around the side as I was looking around, and it's like, oh, there's a bomb up here. Okay, we're gonna fight it. And then I accidentally knocked it off the edge, like down to the lower part of the room. But then I guess it tried to attack, but there was a bunch of grass down there, and then it lit a bunch of like enemies on fire, like down below. I was like, oh, I just like almost killed half the room. Okay, cool. And then was just able to clean that up, which was like a fun little moment of discovery and just like, oh, I did a thing without meaning to. Okay, good. So yeah, that's kind of the basic stuff. You're playing, what's the guy's name? Do you remember? It's not Jack, is it? Is it Jack? Might be Jack.
I can't. It's in the H&M shirt.
I think it's a J name. It's like Jack or Jason or
I think he's Jack. And then there's Jed is your like your friend with the knives, and then
your friend with the knives. Jed is got like everyone's friend with the knives is actually named Jed. I don't know.
It looks to be Jack. Yes.
And then the Eminem looking motherfucker. And then then there's Jed, and then there's Ash.
That's the main character is Jack, a man consumed by a need to destroy chaos. He is accompanied by his companions Ash and Jed.
Yep, there we go. So you've got 2 friends with you. You can't do much, like you can't order them around or anything. They fight with you and they go into combat, but you're not like, at least in the demo, you're not like assigning them like skills or like telling them like, oh, be defensive or be super aggressive or anything like that. You can't order them around. They're just kind of there. So I'm not sure how that is really going to work out. And like sometimes you have to pick them up when they get knocked down, but they can't pick you up when you get knocked down.
Thumping.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They get knocked down and
they get up again.
They get up again, but they can only do it 3 times. And then the 4th time they're gonna keep you down.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But then
Chumbawamba will be proud.
Yeah. Then I don't know.
They say it more than 3 times in that song.
Yeah. So I don't
know.
The
whole point of the song is that you can never keep them down.
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
Yeah. Jed and Ash need to listen to some tub.
They need more than a whiskey drink and a vodka drink to get them back up again.
Yep. But yeah, so they're there and they fight with you, but I'm not sure if there's going to be like, I want to customize what kind of role they're in. Like I want Jed to do magic or whatever. You want Jed to be Donald and you want Ash to be Goofy. Yeah, exactly. But you can't customize them. You can customize Jack, and like immediately you get some gear, and then you start to look more like a Final Fantasy protagonist and not like a I don't even know what he looks like in that like intro where he's just wearing like all gray or all brown or whatever. You actually put on like some Final Fantasy looking outfits as you pick them up. And then you can you start off with just like his big sword, but then you pick up like a knife, or they call it a mace, but that thing's a knife, or at least a small sword. That's like your magic class. They do like an interesting thing with like casting magic where you use R2, and then the longer you hold it down, like the more you charge up like the level of spell you're going to use while you're rotating like the left stick to pick like, oh, I want fire or water, or so it's all like very active, but you can't move around while you're doing it. So it's a neat way to handle magic in a game like that for like the Final Fantasy style of magic.
So you use a menu in real time to select what spells you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've played another Square Enix game where that is the way magic works.
It's much better than the Kingdom Hearts way.
I don't believe you.
It is. And you can like, and using like the combo system, you can make it so you'll cast, like you can like combo into like casting a spell so you don't have to wait. And stuff like that is pretty cool. And then there's a lance that is in there. And you can set up different, so like you can switch between two weapons. So you can have like, I'm gonna have my lance and my magic equipped, or my sword and my lance, or whatever. But for each weapon you can select a different loadout, like a different like equipment. So you can have like, oh, I want the Twilight set for the sword because that's like the stats that are good for the sword, or I want the caster set for the the magic thing. And when you change to that weapon, you'll actually change your equipment. So you'll change all your stats. You don't have to like, oh, well, I need to have stats that are good for this and this, or, pick one and then like this one suffers, which you do a lot in Neo. You're just kind of one set of gear and then you change your weapons. But here that's the weapon and the gear are very tied together.
Is there materia?
Not that I see.
Materia wasn't.
That's Final Fantasy VII thing.
Yeah,
too.
materia wasn't a thing in Final Fantasy 1, which is this game is a prequel to. So I doubt
right.
they'll put.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that big guy in the trailer is Garland, who's like the
he's in the demo too.
Mm-hmm.
He is the final boss of the demo. I did not beat him. I did not put in the time to finish him. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But
does it seem good?
It seems fine. Like it's hard to say from like one level and where is this in the game, and it definitely seems more accessible than something like Neo because it's just there's a lot less going on. Like because Neo there are so many like stance changes and types of weapons and systems going on that it's very difficult. Everything in Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is much more streamlined and simplified in a way that there's still challenge there, but it doesn't seem like there's as much of a hill to climb to get good, as it were.
Cool.
If the game will be good overall, hard to say right now. Like, I think that'll depend a lot on what they do with Jed and Ash, and if how the combat kind of changes and evolves, because there's a handful of enemies in the demo, but they're not like the most interesting things. But yeah, I think there's potential there. It just kind of depends on how expansive it gets and what they let you do.
Cool.
I wanna get the Neo collection I have a voucher for a free game on the Sony Rewards website, but it's sold out.
You really could just play Neo 2. You don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's free,
Sure.
My other options are MLB The Show, which I buy every year and then don't ever play, so I'm not doing it this year. And sorry, Chris,
And it's free.
And yeah, or Guilty Gear, which I've heard somewhat mixed things about from people, even though it looks awesome. Or a bunch of games I already have, or get something cheaper that isn't worth the full value of my voucher. So it's like, the one I really want is Neo Collection. I'll wait to see if they restock it before my voucher
is that
expires.
both games, or is it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, no. Okay, then it's worth it. Yeah. Definitely. Those Neo. I didn't finish Neo 2. I meant to finish it, but that game's good. And Stranger of Paradise seems like it could be good. Like, I trust that studio, and it's early enough that
it's good to hear, because the trailer just made it look bad. But I don't care if it looks like a PS2 game if it plays really well.
It plays fine.
Totally.
It didn't look like a PS2 game, but it looked rough.
It didn't look wonderful.
No.
Yeah. And it's hard to say, like, did they put a date on that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it just said 2022.
Okay, so next year. And like they, it's hard to say what Neo was like. I can't remember what it was like when I played like those betas or whatever. But
that's the thing that
they
team
do.
does.
They do take the feedback.
Yeah, they do they'll do like their demos are more than just marketing, which is nice.
Yeah, Square has been pretty good about that kind of stuff. Like they did that with the project, the Octopath. Like,
they release a lot of rough games, so I think
they put out the demos, and then they go, okay, what do you?
Like Project Triangle Strategy and so on.
Has that had a thing out? Oh, that did have a demo.
It did have a demo. Yeah.
Yep. Wish they would do that with their Western studios. They make things.
Or Tomb Raider.
And poor fucking Avengers. And I don't mean to be negative on a thing Sam's excited about, but that Guardians game looks really fucking rough to me.
We'll talk more about that pretty soon. There. But I mean, that's it for Final Fantasy. We'll
get there now.
That's sort of why I bring it up, because I figure it's a good transition.
We're already talking about Final Fantasy and Square, so let's start with the hottest show of the show.
Great.
The Square Enix press conference, or the event, whatever they want to call it. It was like half an hour, or no, like the Guardian stuff was almost half an hour.
It was 45 minutes, and 20 minutes of it was Guardians.
Yeah, it's rough.
And then they did a little bit about Stranger Paradise at the end. Guardians of the Galaxy game. I
don't think we have
made by Eidos Montreal.
We have a lot of stuff here, so
we do.
Everything, but that event was really bad.
Pretty cold on the way that whole thing played out. The whole event overall,
it seemed like all the games individually for this. Well, we're not going to talk about every single game, but for the Square Enix event, it seemed like they had Guardians and they had the Final Fantasy or Stranger Paradise thing that they were excited about. Then everything else just kind of got, a couple seconds. It's like, we got this too, and we'll throw it away. It was just
people don't
really
get the wrong impression.
Really,
I think every one of those games that they showed has potential. Like the Guardians game could end up being fucking awesome to play. Just because it looked rough doesn't mean that it might not be a great game. But just the way that the presentation was made.
The event was terrible.
Yeah,
like Life is Strange looks really good. The way they presented it,
not very good.
It was not good.
That art style, the like art. What was that during the Nintendo thing?
That was Nintendo.
Yeah, the best presentational thing they had for Life is Strange was that cool
Nintendo conference
animated art style that they did for like the little like bumper where all three of the
game.
No, it's not.
But if you want a game that looks like that, watch out for Goodbye Volcano High.
And also was just like a nice presentational way for them to introduce that those games were coming to Switch, and like they couldn't even do something like that. Like, why wouldn't you just put that in the Square Enix thing?
What else was in the
Overall,
Square
like,
Enix thing? I can't remember.
Well, there was the Platinum thing.
Babylon's
Oh
Fall.
yeah, that
yeah.
looked bad. And then it's
It
a
looked-
service game. It's a live
So
service game.
so that's one of those things where I think that
Right.
like Stranger of
Right.
Paradise, I think that game could end up being really good, but they just showed it in a really rough way
Yeah.
that was not compelling at all. And then they spent a lot of time talking about how it's basically just Nier Automata's combat.
Yeah, they
without
even brought in
That's the
Yoko
whole-
Taro and stuff like
yes,
to say
that's the whole point of the game is that they decided to turn Nier Automata's combat into a service game.
Yeah.
What? Why?
Yeah.
There was like, well, one point I want to say, and I may be misquoting, but one of the people on there said like the most compelling part of Nier Automata was its combat system or something like that, or like
I think
fans
it
fell
was
in
like-
love with Nier Automata's combat
Yeah.
system. And it's like, dog, did you listen to what anybody had to say about that game? Because the combat was boring.
Yeah. Okay,
It was
I'm
fine,
looking at
but it was boring.
I'm looking at a list. I'm just gonna really quickly hit this, like where they talked about that Hitman Sniper phone game. They talked about the Nier phone game. They talked about the Final Fantasy remake phone games and Legend of Mana and stuff. And they spent like between 20 to 50 seconds basically on all of those. And like then it was just like they really just wanted to like jump over it and skip over and be like, oh yeah, we got this dude. Now let's go on to something else. And that's what the whole thing felt like. It was like they were constantly just wanting to skip to something else except for Guardians.
Well, and like they could have shaved 5 minutes off of Guardians and talked about those Final Fantasy remakes, and I think people would have actually been interested to hear more about what those things are.
Yeah,
Man,
like
they could have shaved a lot of Guardians by not playing the exact same footage over and over again.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just spent so long of people talking about it, and when it's sounds like a pretty simple game, it's not even like Avengers, where like, not that Avengers turned out great, but I wanted to hear people talk about it because I wanted to understand what it was. Whereas this Guardians game is like, it's a character action game where you play as Star-Lord and can command the other characters. Done. That's it. That's all you need to tell me is
you can make
like,
choices. But one of the things I found funny is like, oh, you make all these choices and then they clearly show right as the choice is about to matter that you can just change your mind. It doesn't matter. It's like, wow, okay.
I
So
don't
you
even care about any of that stuff at this stage of that game. So I don't know.
I don't know.
That stuff was
Maybe
rough.
it'll be great, but it was a bad conference.
the choice they showed in that didn't have any consequence, because they basically was, we're going to make the choice and then we're not going to show you what happens for it, but we're going to show that you can change your mind later, which that's fine. Like if you're going to go through a thing, like you have the last minute, like, do you want to change your mind up? But like, it all depends on what the actual outcome of that choice later on is. Because if like you can just like walk back, oh no, that was a bad like I don't like that outcome, like that's one thing. Or if you're like, oh, actually I want to go through a different way, that's one thing. If it's I don't like that outcome, I want to undo that, then that's like, what are we even doing here?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah,
maybe
that
as you get
presentation
more
was too long.
context. Yeah. It was too long, but it was also too short. It was weird.
Yeah, maybe. I kind of skipped through and was not sold on the combat. But
we could talk like 40. We could talk the length of each of these press conferences about each of them.
Yeah.
Well, not. I would say not Ubisoft or Capcom, because those were both also bad.
Those are almost like those are almost skippable. The Ubisoft thing was
Riders Republic looks rad.
Yes, I'm very excited for that
totally.
game. That's the one thing. And again, I think the point here is there's games at all of these things that look like it's great that they're doing Resident Evil Village DLC. It's just that the presentations were not impressive.
I mean, basically hearing people say like, oh, people are probably just trying to keep in good with the ESA. So when E3 does come back, they just go, hey, we were there. Fine. Give us a good booth.
I also don't think this is like, I think the one aspect between the Square, Capcom and Ubisoft, I think the one thing is Ubisoft, fuck that company still. And fuck Yves Guillermo in particular. Like dude just fucking thinks he can come on stage or on camera and be like, oh, I'm the sprightly happy Yves again, when that company still has immense problems that are not being addressed and not being fixed, even after he's promised multiple times outside of the media's eye that they will be. Like, fuck off. That's the one thing I would say about nothing against the people on those teams working on those games who are the victims of this shit, but like from an upper management level, I would definitely say fuck Ubisoft. But like Square and Capcom, I have nothing against the stuff they're making or nothing against the games themselves. The presentations have just been boring.
It's mutually exclusive, a bad presentation from bad games. I wouldn't say any of the games they showed like at any of these looked particularly bad. Some looked not my jam. That's fine. But it's purely the presentations were bad, except for a couple conferences, which we will get to.
Right, exactly.
I also heard, I didn't watch it. Apparently the Coke Media, whatever thing was really terrible.
Oh, it was basically the worst. Just like a recruitment video.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I watched them talk over it on Nextlander, but they ultimately just were watching footage of old E3s because there was nothing worth talking over. So they would close the old E3 footage and pull up the Coke Media thing whenever they would actually show a game. But usually what it was they'd show a game trailer, and there was like one that looked interesting to me, and I can't remember what it was called. And then they would talk to the developers about what it's like to work with Coke Media for like 20 minutes afterwards.
Wow, really?
Not 20 minutes, but like 5 to 10 minutes of someone just interviewing developers from the team about what it's like working with Coke Media. And it was not, I think, I almost, certainly they maybe misrepresented it a bit on social media and stuff. It was not an official E3 thing as far as I know. I think maybe the whole point initially was this is for developers who are looking for a publisher. I don't think it was really a thing made for consumers to watch. It didn't have that feel at all. It felt very much like the sort of thing you would see if you went to like GDC and were like going to a networking thing or something.
So it's like almost what you would see behind E3, like back closed door conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Come join the Embracer group.
Yeah, it had no air of like being for fans to watch at all, in my opinion.
I'm looking through what games were there. There was The Chant. Is that the one?
No.
There's Crossfire Legion. There's Dolmen. Echoes of the End.
I don't think it was that.
Final Form.
Final Form might have been it.
Okay.
It was like a sci-fi shooter that looked kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like that could be this.
Yeah, this isn't.
Expands beyond the edge of the known universe in a race against an unstoppable plague to prevent the last celestial being, essence of life and creation.
There was one of them that looked really bad. One sci-fi shooter that looked really bad. It looked like a bad version of Returnal to me. Again,
gore.
Maybe again they who knows with these things? They all seem super early too, so they didn't even look like they were the games they were showing were really made for people to be looking at them yet. Totally. So yeah.
Anyways,
all right. I wonder if part of the thing that made so many of these presentations bad was they're going overly in depth on some of these things is because media isn't there to like see them,
play it and write about it,
probably,
and talk about it and be like, here's what this thing is.
And from what
so they're like, we need to, and like, you know, remote demos like are possible, but they're still like they're touchy and iffy. So if they're just like, oh, we're gonna put it all out there for everyone to see, but it could have been like, and go to our YouTube channel to get like more in-depth look at this stuff.
I've talked to a couple people about that had access to the E3 portal, and it sounds like it was a waste of time to even get into that. Like there was nothing there. So it's not like they had much material for press to talk about. I think some people were booking remote appointments to see games, but who knows if it was even worth it to do that for Square for a lot of their stuff. It may have just been like, wow, this is a poorly paced show. But and what I'll say is like, I know multiple people. One of them is Sam, who is really fucking excited for that Guardians game now and appreciated them talking about it for 20 minutes. So
of course, he is.
It worked for some, and he's not the only one I've seen. It worked for some people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's
the presentation of it was poor, like quality.
I guess my point is,
but yeah,
I think we are a hyper specific group of people.
True.
And the number of people who give a shit about whether the presentation was good or not, it may seem large because we've built very specific Twitter spaces that talk extensively about it. But
yeah,
we're probably following roughly 40% of all people who actually care about it. You know, like the actual number of people, most people, when it filters through, people like us go, oh, Guardians game, awesome. From the people who made Deus Ex, cool. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think people have been a little over the top with like, oh, this is like a terrible presentation, the worst E3 presentation I've ever seen. I don't
It's
think
not the
anything,
worst ever.
I don't
The
think
Konami
anything
one.
from this. Oh no, it's the EA presentation where all they had was footage of developers sitting at computers with like wireframes.
Well,
that
and
was
also
the worst E3 presentation
sure.
I've ever seen.
It's one of them, yeah.
If you had, I mean, I can't think of an expectation that wasn't really met from the, like,
Sure.
I didn't have any
100%.
expectations for the Square Enix show. It would have been cool to see 16, Final Fantasy 16, but like,
Sure.
But I expect that as Sony. So
exactly. Yeah. There's a clear reason why it wasn't there. Same thing with Capcom. I mean, it would have been awesome to see like Dragon's Dogma 2 announced, but
yeah,
there was not a whole lot at any of these three conferences.
I would have liked to have seen more new stuff from Capcom, but at least hearing, oh, they've now started on DLC, so they didn't have plans really until it did well, and now we're going to make DLC for it,
which honestly
probably good. But
it is good because it means that they can look at what people were saying about what they liked about Village and leverage that for their DLC. So yeah, none of this stuff was disappointing to me in the way that certain conferences in the past have been from different companies. I think if Nintendo had really beefed it this year, I would have been more down on the show overall.
Yeah, I was going to say some of the conferences were good.
Yeah, speaking of, we should talk about the good ones.
Yeah,
those are more interesting.
Did you guys watch the Wholesome Direct? Because I definitely did.
No, but it sounded good.
It was really good stuff. It had a lot of games. Like it was just friggin' going a mile a minute of just good games. But it was all represented really well. It was all every one they showed looked interesting for a different reason. And there's definitely like I would pay. I think they showed 75 games overall, and there was like a big block at the end where it was just like 20 of them just in a row. But like I wish listed probably about 10 of them.
They that's the Wholesome Direct people are really good at hitting. Their presentational style is just very good. So even at their worst, like they're able, they do a good job with putting together the show part of it. So I'm not surprised.
I should go and watch that just because with everything happens when like I'm asleep. Yeah, basically at E3. Totally. It all happens at like 2 a.m. or so timing on this stuff is, and then like a lot of it is like during the work week for me. So I just like I have to watch it like after work or whatever, and like there's only so many hours in the day, so stuff like I didn't catch the Devolver Showcase, I didn't catch the Wholesome Direct, but it is still like that. I know there are games there I want to see, like what is this Shashingo, I'm looking at the Wholesome Games page, is learn Japanese through photography. That sounds neat.
That one's really cool.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
But yeah, check out the YouTube video for the Wholesome Direct. It's they have timestamps for everything in chapters, so it's very easy to just kind of look through and thumb through. Yeah, Wholesome Direct was really good, and it was also hosted by Waking Oni, Derek, and then Kim Chica and the Vitran, so Victoria Tran. It was cool. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. So,
anything you said you wish listed 10 games on there? Anything in particular that caught your eye?
That's a lot of them. I don't know, like for different reasons.
Give me your top 3 most fuckable wholesome games.
Well,
okay, you don't have to fuck them. Just top 3 wholesome games from this direct off the top of your head. It doesn't have to be. If you change your mind later, that's okay. The fact that you think Alex is going to talk about each game individually for the next 2 hours. I want 3 names. 3 names. 3 names only.
Snacko looked really interesting.
Okay, Snacko.
Hot Pot for One is one I've been following because I know some of the developers. Or no, sorry, not Hot Pot for One. There's another Soup Pot. Soup Pot is the one that I actually know some of the developers, but Hot Pot for One also looks good. There was what was it called? There's like a cat cafe manager, which looks very
Okay.
endearing. Oh, there was what was it called? There was like the GPK.
No, there were your three. You did your three. You did your three.
What
All
was
right.
it called? There was one about a band, and that one stood out as We Are
I heard
OFK.
about that one.
That one looks
sounded cool.
amazing. So if I had to pick one, OFK was the one that I came away from being like, what the fuck is this?
Honestly,
I need to play it.
I think that particular show is the one that's the most valuable for you to just go watch, because you're going to hear so much about everything that's at Microsoft and Nintendo, that the Wholesome Direct is probably the one that's going to give you the most new information that you won't get through other osmosis.
Like there was some stuff showed about Skatebird that made me way more interested in that game, which before I was like, yeah, it seems fine, but they showed some stuff that's like, yeah, that looks kind of cool now.
I hope it's more good to play when it comes out, because
it looks like
I think I saw the developer tweeting about like weird screen resolutions they're supporting, and Pat supports ultra wide.
Great.
Hell yeah.
I really like following Glass Bottom Mag as a developer, because they're really they have a lot of really good insight and are just an enjoyable Twitter follow. But I wasn't super enthused with the feel, the game feel with the demo that came out, but they've also been working on it a lot since then. That has no bearing on what the final product is going to be like, and it looks great. So
Lake looks good. Bird Problems look good. Game Director Story looks good. Lake looks fucking awesome. Actually.
When I saw there was a trailer for Lake sometime last year.
Prepare to cry.
The trailer almost made me cry last year when it first, like the first trailer dropped. I'm not playing the demo because I just want to play that when it comes out.
Same.
But that was like, oh, be a mailman in Oregon. Okay, I'm home. Country roads.
I'll make sure to put a link to.
Turns out, if you want to make people cry in a video game, Pacific Northwest may be the best setting you can go with.
Yeah, Life is Strange.
Maybe.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'll make sure to leave a link to the Wholesome Direct in our show notes, because I think fewer people saw that one.
It seems like, and I'm just going off like kind of names of games. I don't have anything like for sure, but it seems like there are maybe a lot more Japanese indie devs on this show than I would have expected, which is cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Like that scene seems to be getting a lot more like exposure outside of just Japan now. And I saw some headline where Microsoft was saying more Japanese indie devs have Xboxes than ever before. So
that's cool. I didn't know that.
If that scene is getting more like international recognition, that's good. Because I feel like I rarely see Japanese indie games like talked about.
Yeah, usually not at shows.
Not at E3.
I'm not really. Yeah, I'm like,
it's more like
hardly aware of them.
Someone's like, "Oh, this game's really good," and then you find out.
And then like it's like, and then 95% of the time it's Toho.
Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's the Wholesome Direct. Then there was Microsoft. That was kind of the first big show.
It was good.
The first good show.
I think
I don't know. Wholesome Direct was before that, maybe. I don't know.
I think I'm just very, very hot on Forza. The more I reflect on the rest of that show, the more I'm like,
no, I liked a lot of what was in the show, but I just want to say last week we had this whole conversation, like 5 minutes, where you were like,
"Trust me,
they shouldn't make Forza 5," and I was
trust me.
5. I'm like,
as I watched the trailer, I was like, and this is why I'm quitting the podcast. I had like not funny, actual like real imposter syndrome moment of like, why do I ever say anything out loud? I'm an idiot. So believe me, that thought went through my head.
It's okay.
But I will say, I think part of it is that Forza trailer looked so leaps and bounds better visually than anything I would have expected them to do. When I was talking about that last week, I was thinking of it more from the perspective of like, if they just make a game that looks like Forza Horizon 4, but set it in Mexico, I'm not sure that that's enough for me to be interested. But the way they're bringing that environment to life is so impressive to me that I think it really is a big deal. I think this is an example. You know, we talk all the time about like next gen doesn't mean a huge leaps and bounds in gameplay. It's all about visual fidelity, and it's the visual fidelity even really going to be that much higher or whatever. This is an example of like the things they're doing with visual fidelity to me actually impact the gameplay because of what the nature of the game is, and the fact that the environment needs to be a character in such a way. And it seems like these visual enhancements, because I went back and played some Forza Horizon 4 because I was excited, and the game is still fantastic to play.
Yep.
It's beautiful, but
excellent.
it doesn't have the same vibrant feeling that they show in that trailer for 5, where you know, the dust is kicking up in specific ways and the storms are rolling across the environment like they were.
We'll talk about storms.
So I think as much as I did feel like an idiot as I was getting excited for it, it was much more impressive than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah,
based on what they showed.
And I would also say Halo Infinite looked much more impressive than I thought it would be from what they were showing there. I was like, it looks like that would actually be a
good.
fun
It looks
game.
a lot better visually. It's still Halo to me.
I don't care about the visuals. It just looked like it would actually be kind of interesting to play.
I didn't get anything from that Halo presentation.
I thought that the multiplayer stuff that they showed the next day was more exciting to me. I don't know that I'll buy I have Game Pass now. I'll probably have it then. So I don't know if I'll play the single player stuff, but I actually am pretty excited for Halo's multiplayer because it's going to be free. So I can get my friends I have friends who are like, I will never pay for a subscription service in my life. And so they would never buy Game Pass. We've been over my friends before on the show and off it.
They have quirks. It's fine.
But I said, Halo multiplayer is going to be free, and they're like, oh, that's awesome. We can actually play it and stuff. And the stuff with like battle passes being like available for a limited time, but something you can always work on. That's
it sounds like actually you can just buy them forever. I thought there was like. They're kind of going to rotate when you can buy them, but it sounds like you can buy them at any point.
I have always wanted someone to do a battle pass system where you can just equip the one you want to work on, but keep them all in a deck of cards and they've always
been
have access
apparently
to them.
doing that with the Master Chief Collection.
I didn't even know Master Chief Collection had battle passes.
It's not like battle pass in like the traditional sense, but it is like they're kind of like seasonal passes, but they remain there. And if you can just dedicate like, okay, I want to work on this one, or I want to work on this one, and they're keeping that going into the.
I think it just makes Halo Infinite. It's more friendly to players that way.
100%.
And I think it's better. And I think especially if you want to sell a subscription service, it's a much better to do it that way. And give people flexibility and access to things all the time. I mean,
hopefully Halo doing it will be like a. Maybe like pressure on the rest of the industry, because like Halo Infinite is like good and has legs.
I will say that replaced game looked fucking awesome.
Which one's replaced?
It's the one that kind of looked
really
like
cool.
It's kind of like the
Cyberpunk.
Sword and Sorcery, but Cyberpunk, like that really pixel arty kind of thing.
That one did look awesome. Yeah,
that looks super cool.
And Redfall looked really cool too.
Yeah, Redfall looked cool too. Somerville looked really interesting.
Yeah,
that was the one with like the kid and the alien invasion kind of stuff.
I think
made me think of what's the Kentucky Route Zero. Like,
totally.
Kentucky Route Zero met like War of the Worlds.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I thought too.
I think I'm really into all the stuff they showed. I think my few criticisms of that presentation is, one, I think that Starfield it's fucking hilarious that Starfield thing leaked 20 minutes early because of the Washington Post
getting time zones wrong or something. Who knows?
I love Gene Park.
But
so
20 minutes, that doesn't. Well, Gene Park said it wasn't him either.
No. I'm saying just generally, I am not a fan of the Washington Post as an institution. Personally, okay. I think they really suck, but I do like Gene Park a lot. But so that's why I was cackling over the fact that especially because it wasn't Gene Park's fault or thing that they're the ones who fucked up arguably the biggest embargo of the show.
Almost assuredly.
It's a
and
good
then
thing
on
they
top of
opened
that,
with that.
and then on top of that thing was boring. I mean, I'm maybe
it didn't show anything.
excited. I'm maybe the most excited for Starfield of anybody on the podcast, as a huge Bethesda Game Studios fan and a huge sci-fi space RPG fan. That trailer didn't show shit. It was nothing.
No.
It was like,
it showed the release date. It's 11 years after Skyrim.
did it though? Did it show the release date? Because like,
good point.
Yeah.
I mean,
It showed a release date.
It showed a release date. It showed a date.
Given the fact that they had no gameplay, I understand it's over a year out, but that game's been in development since what, like 2017. And
it sounded like it was in very light development at that point, but yeah.
But I guess like for our purposes as people watching the show, I don't care. They announced it in like 2017. So to me as a player, that tells me, I think it was.
I think it was 2018, but either way.
No, I think it was before we started doing a podcast. That's why I think it was 2017. I think it was at their E3 presentation.
I'm looking.
I remember. Wasn't that the one with Andrew WK?
No, I think
it was around the time Fallout 76 came out. So that would have been during, because it was like that same E3. They're like, we're making the online Fallout, but also we're still working on like our single player RPGs. We got Starfield, and then we're gonna have Elder Scrolls 6. And like Starfield had been like floating around and like, you know, the rumors, but I'm pretty sure it was 2018 was Fallout 76.
Well, right? I'm trying to find as well.
I'm trying to find it too.
I'm curious.
Because then I remember the next year, you were saying like, if they're not going to show Starfield or Elder Scrolls, what is the point of Bethesda doing a show?
Well, sort of. I mean, it doesn't say on their Wikipedia article, so I don't want to. But either way, it was heavily rumored before it was ever shown too.
Yes, 100%.
So I guess
2018 was the
either way. If it was 2018, that's still 3 years of development time. And I understand. I'm not saying making games is hard. This isn't me trying to like shit on them too hard. But I think it is reasonable as someone who, as an enthusiast, to expect after 3 years of development that you might get to see like a little bit of, or at least learn a little bit about the gameplay.
I bet that game's a mess. That game is
probably.
It could be
on fire right now.
That's what I'm saying. Is that's why I'm not sure that it's going to hit a November release date.
With them not having to put the time in to make like a vertical slice for E3, you know, maybe it.
I have questions about 2 other games that were shown, just because I know they're ones you care about. What did you think of the flight simulator thing?
That's super funny.
It was very funny. The
Top Gun stuff.
Top Gun stuff. Yeah,
that's funny.
Sorry. Go for it.
The more exciting stuff about Flight Simulator, I don't think they showed it there, which is they're doing a bunch more like the support for that thing is like, it's quieter because it's more of an enthusiast thing for a niche audience. It is perhaps one of the best supported games ever made. It's
great.
After modeling the whole world with their Bing map data, they're now just by hand filling in the gaps and going back and passing over all of the places that have some kind of rough. So I raced with some Finnish folks, and they announced that they're doing a huge pass of Northern Europe and Finland. And it's like, and they were like, this is really cool because there's actually like a lot of hills in Finland that are lakes in the way that they pulled the map data. So they're going back by hand and fixing all of that stuff on a like mile by mile basis. It's incredible. It's just like Asobo deserves nothing. And then on top of that, they're also making a Plague Tale sequel. On top of supporting Flight Simulator better than maybe anyone has ever supported a video game. It's wild.
I have the other game here. What did you think of the Sea of Thieves stuff they showed?
It's silly. I don't know. If it gets more people to play Sea of Thieves, cool. I don't have that much affection for the Pirates of the Caribbean series. I liked those movies a lot. I haven't seen
very timely. Very timely with this Pirates of the Caribbean tie-in. Like, okay.
I didn't.
But I will say
it got that one.
It got some of my friends to want to play Sea of Thieves, and we played some Sea of Thieves over the past week. So that's enough for me. I like Sea of Thieves a lot.
Like a much more like interesting game than it did at launch.
Let me fucking tell you, if you Sea of Thieves at 144 hertz with the graphics like max the fuck out at 1440p. one of the most incredible looking things you can possibly do with a video game.
Awesome.
I was like, I just stood and stared at the water for like 10 minutes when we played earlier this week. It is, and it looks damn good at 144 hertz.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Yeah. The only other one I want to talk about and mention from that, because it was a good conference, Stalker 2 looks really awesome. I can't wait. I love Stalker, the first game.
Yes, I mean, it's one of the greats in my opinion. I'm very interested to see if Stalker 2 lives up to what they showed, because Stalker 2 has been in development for like 20 years, not 20 years, but
like at least 10.
It's like 12, I think, is the real number. And my understanding is that it has been largely spearheaded by one guy. And he's sort of been like working with rotating teams of people trying to get a team to click and actually make the damn game. Weird. So we'll see. I was very surprised to see it. It wasn't a surprise to see it at all, because I knew it was coming eventually, or it was in development, because it has been forever. I was very surprised to see it at Microsoft, and I'm excited that they seem to have faith in it, because Microsoft doesn't pick these games up if they don't think there's something there. They're pretty like, they're not a Coke
picky.
Media.
They're much pickier.
They're not always right. Medium ended up being kind of rough, primarily from a narrative perspective, but also
from
Happy
Few was fine.
So Microsoft isn't always on target, but they try. That means they must see something in Stalker. They must have shown them something that was impressive.
Redfall looks rad.
Looks really cool. I need to know more about what
Arcane,
it is, but
it's Arcane, so it's like the one thing that had me like is like, oh, it's multiplayer, but if that's, if you don't have to do multiplayer and how that works out, we'll see.
I think it's all going to be how the problem with, as someone who plays a lot of co-op games with a group, the problem that is always encountered is, how does multiplayer work? Is it a situation where you host a session and now I come into your session and I have to play from your point in the story? Like what? I think the structure of that game is going to make or break.
Is it going to be like a Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood, co-op? Well,
they said it's open world.
Run missions. So, okay.
That's the thing that I think a lot of people missed. A bunch of people I've talked to about it.
I did miss that. Yeah.
Yes, it is an open world game. That's where to me, it looked gameplay wise actually kind of like Sunset Overdrive, but with perhaps more focus and immersive and stuff, and not as fast, which could be really cool. But if it's a situation where like, I'm bringing a character into your game and we're progressing your story and I'm not getting anything for it, that feels bad. And if it's a thing where we all need to be playing together all the time to get the most out of it as a group, and I can't jump on and play it myself while you're busy, that could feel bad. So it's just going to depend on what what it looks like, I think.
Yeah. I trust Arcane. Like they make incredible games.
This is just new territory for them.
It is.
So that's why I need to see more to be on board. And it may be the kind of thing where the co-op is weird, but it's just a great game. And so you want to play through it single player or something. I mean, who knows?
Maybe like a Dying Light type situation, because that game kicked ass.
Yeah, Dying Light handled co-op pretty well, in my opinion.
So if they did it kind of like that, I would be totally in.
There's totally potential for that. I'm interested in it. That's for sure.
I was pretty into Atomic Heart, that trailer.
I'm really glad that they found money, because that game started as a very indie thing. And I think the reason it's taken so long is because it was going to be a lot smaller in scope, but then publishers took interest in it and they found one, and then started getting more resources and building a larger team, because that game looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks bizarre in a good way.
And then last week after the podcast, we watched the reveal trailer for Battlefield 2042.
Oh yeah,
and then they showed the gameplay during the Xbox.
That game looks really good.
Like I am not a Battlefield person. I almost got in on Battlefield, whatever the most recent. Battlefield 5. I almost got in on that, but I was like, But I think I'll get it on Battlefield 2042.
Oh, it looks so fucking good.
I pre-ordered it. I'm sorry.
I'm
not a pre-ordery person.
I'm gonna wait a little bit on it, just because I want to see when the dates are for the beta. But I'm gonna be buying that video game.
Yeah, it looks like the evolution I've wanted from like Battlefield 3 and 4 Like,
And you want to talk about my picky friends? I was like, you need to watch this trailer, and every one of them was like, we're not going to buy Call of Duty this year. We're just going to play.
I wonder if this is actually going to be, because I've seen several people be like, I don't care about like these kinds of games, but holy shit, Battlefield 2042.
yeah.
Well, and what's
Amazing.
funny is a lot of the cool stuff in it is very reminiscent of Battlefield 3 and 4 to me, which I'm excited about. So it's interesting that so many people are like, I'm in now, because I would say, if you're listening, I don't think it's on sale anymore. If you get the itch to want to play one of these kinds of games, when Battlefield 4 is on sale, you should try it, because it's
really good,
really good, and very similar to a lot of the stuff you saw in the trailer. They don't, however, have the crazy dust storms or tornadoes and stuff.
I think the thing where I'd be concerned about doing that now is just, there is like the people playing that game at this point.
There's always
so you're just
sure.
You're shit wrecked.
There's a server browser, and you can find newbie friendly servers.
I will say there's still like thousands of people playing it. It's pretty impressive.
Does it still use Battlelog? Because I actually really like Battlelog.
4 didn't. 4 had an in-game server browser, and then you used a web browser to edit your loadouts, which kind of
yeah, right. That's what it was.
4 was a bad amalgamation of Battlelog and
God,
the rest.
I know I don't want to spend too much time on everything, because otherwise we'll be here for another 4 hours. But with Battlefield, just with one of these games, I really hope they bring back the Bad Company destruction style. Like just taking down walls, like totally destroying the environment, because that stuff was awesome.
With the power of the cloud, we can. I had a thought and then I lost it. Oh, Psychonauts got a date finally. Yes, August 25th, baby. Oh, now I remember my thought. How long do you think they keep calling it, like they keep doing like the Xbox or the Microsoft Bethesda showcase or whatever? How long do you think they keep saying that?
Probably, well, if Activision does shows, do they call it the Activision Blizzard showcase, or does that
but they're called Activision Blizzard. The company is called Activision.
The company is not Microsoft Bethesda. Yeah,
but like Bethesda is a recognizable name for a lot of people, so I imagine at least for a while.
Let me put this potential future. This is not going to happen, but this is a thought that just came into my head. What if Bethesda, because there's so much name recognition there, they just start putting more of their first party studios under Bethesda? So instead of it being Xbox Game Studios,
the Bethesda box.
Bethesda. Like they keep calling it Xbox, but Bethesda is like there's like Bethesda is the top level nesting under Xbox as like their first party is Bethesda.
I would think that they learned by watching EA not to do that because of BioWare.
I don't think they will do that, but I think it's an interesting thought. I bet they'll call it the Xbox Bethesda Showcase for
at least one more.
I would say for a long time, at least until Elder Scrolls 6 comes out.
You know what? That's a good point.
Yeah. So
I might actually agree with that.
That's 2030, baby.
No, that's not. That game's not going to come out. That game's in the next 3 to 5 years.
Are we going to have to play some bets on this?
Three. No.
3 to 5 years.
It is not coming out the year after.
What? Okay, sorry. Starfield's coming after, right? Or is Starfield first and then it's
Starfield's
first.
Oh, right. Sorry, right. It's announced for next year. Sorry.
They're not making anything else. They're making Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6.
I mean, they've said Elder Scrolls is after Starfield.
Oh, for sure. Of course.
That's what they said. That was their least. Yeah, that was their last. That was when they.
It's at least 2 years after
really talked about
Starfield.
Yeah. When they announced both those games, they said we're doing Starfield. Afterwards, we'll go back to Tamriel.
They're a big studio. There's people working on Elder Scrolls 6 now. I guarantee you.
I mean, there were stuff. There were people working on all sorts of things. But there's always someone working on something.
I think 3 to 5 years, probably on the longer end of that scale, but I think 3 to 5 years is when we'll see Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah. It'll at least get its first hard release date in a 3 to 5 year time frame. I mean, I could see it getting pushed into year 6 or whatever, but
unless they go back to what they were doing before and just go, okay, we're 6 months out. Here's the game. Here's what it looks like.
I think that's possible too.
That'd be really cool.
I think like with every Bethesda game, a lot, because remember, Fallout 4 came out way sooner than it seemed like it was supposed to have. Like
It did come out sooner than it should have.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I remember when they announced Fallout 4, it was like, whoa, already? We're doing this now, and it's going to be out now? Okay. Or then when it's, that's the date.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Was it? It didn't. I don't. Well, what made it feel so soon?
Because Bethesda takes typically
Forever.
a really long time between their games. Fallout 4, Skyrim came out in 2011, and then Fallout 4 came out in 2015. And yes, that's 4 years.
Fallout 3
but
come out?
It was like 2008.
They did like Oblivion.
New Vegas?
They did Fallout 3. New Vegas was Obsidian though.
Yeah, but like it was still a new Fallout game. Did that come out in between?
That was
it was in between
the
Fallout
year
3 and
after
4.
Fallout 3 or
so
2 years after Fallout 3.
Maybe that's part of what made it feel that way.
Yeah, probably. But it just seemed.
I mean, like until Skyrim, they were like putting games out at a pretty good clip.
Yeah,
and then like I would say like Fallout 4 was kind of the exception to like it was out for there was more of a gap between Skyrim and Fallout 4 than anything else up until that point.
I don't know. I may be way off base. I just remember feeling at the time like I'm surprised this is coming out when it's coming out.
Like a numbered sequel.
I think a lot of it had to do with the fact too that there was like 15 years between Fallout 2 and Fallout 3.
Sure,
so
yes,
at the time I remember thinking, well, Fallout 3 is it. Like they're done for a while. And then Fallout Shelter and Fallout 4 and New Vegas all came out in like a 7-year period between those two. And then we did 76 just a couple years later. So yeah. Whereas if you look at Elder Scrolls, there were 5 years between Oblivion and Skyrim. And then there were 4 years between Morrowind and Oblivion, 5 years between Oblivion and Skyrim, and now it'll probably
over 10 years
between Skyrim and the next one. So it seemed by contrast,
they put out like a billion different versions of Skyrim in the meantime. So
yeah, I mean, but
it has straddled 3 generations at this point.
There were no new Skyrim announcements at this show, were there?
Not this, no.
I think they might put out a next gen patch for.
They probably will.
PS5 or not PS5, but for.
Series
X.
Mean they're doing. I could see them doing.
If Starfield is exclusive to the Xbox, there's no fucking way they're going to continue to support.
I think it'll just be like, oh hey, you got the Skyrim for the PS4. Here's like a next gen update.
Nah, I don't think so. I think it'll happen only on Series X at this point. Maybe. I think the only game that they're going to keep Doom is getting like the next gen update and stuff. So like, but it's not on PlayStation.
Yeah, it is.
Doom Eternal is on PlayStation.
Maybe it's not getting the next gen update on PlayStation.
I don't think it is.
I thought it was.
If it is, then maybe, but that sends very mixed messaging.
Yep. Doom Eternal Next Gen update hits Xbox Series X, PS5, and PC on June 29th.
Man, what are they fucking doing? Well, then yes, they will definitely do a PS5 update for Skyrim.
I mean, they're still supporting Minecraft on like.
Yeah.
I don't think
that feels different to me.
Skyrim is an incredibly popular game. If they can make more money off selling Skyrim,
but then why make
PlayStation
Starfield
5?
an exclusive?
I think that makes sense. I think Starfield being exclusive is fine. I bet
I don't
Elder
care.
Scrolls.
I don't care about any of it. I don't get like defensive about any of this shit because I don't care.
They've already sold the game, and if it's already on the stores, if they could just get, it's already there. They don't have to put dev time into making a PS5 version.
But they put a bunch of dev time into making a PS5 version of Starfield is the thing. Like,
now they can cut off 2 years, a year and a half of dev time.
Is that how it works?
No,
I mean,
not at all.
Now they're not making a PS5 version, so they don't have to. They can dedicate those resources to something else,
QA
money
resources,
or whatever.
Maybe, but like, Elder Scrolls, the new Elder Scrolls, I can totally see coming to PS5 because it's historically been.
No, I think if they're doing the Doom one on PS5, then for sure
we don't need to do this conversation.
No, ultimately, I don't give a shit either. At the end of the day, it sucks ass that Starfield isn't coming out on PS5. It should come out on everything.
Something about the heavens, sky, Nintendo Direct into your eyeballs. I gotta pull up what was in this Nintendo Direct. This Nintendo Direct to me was
good. I liked
okay.
I liked it a lot. There wasn't anything. There was like a lot of stuff in there that I actually wanted to pick up my Switch and play again because I don't really care about my Switch these days. And after watching this, I'm like, man, I want to download at least like 5 or 6 of these.
So they opened the show with a cruel teaser with Ganondorf dead, and then it was a
Red, I
Smash
forgot
trailer.
about that.
A Smash trailer for Kazuya from Tekken, throwing various Smash Bros characters into a volcano
Into
as
the
Kazuya
volcano.
and Heihachi want to do. It was a Mexican volcano, actually. Crossover. The next Smash Bros car is a Forza Horizon car.
Yep.
That was just like start with Ganondorf dead on the screen, and then
That's great.
yeah, Jeff Gerstmann was like very excited, like, oh my god, is Ganondorf going to be in Tekken? He's like, wait, no, oh god, why did I do this to myself?
That's
I
funny.
got excited.
That's funny.
That would be great.
Because he does not like Smash. Anyway,
Man.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking
So
at a
that's-
list of all the stuff they announced. I'm still into like pretty much all of it, except for Mario Party.
Shin Megami Tensei 5. It's back finally after
Looks
being
great.
announced.
Yeah, it looks really good.
With the Switch, right? Wasn't that when that game was announced? When the Switch was
think
announced?
so.
Yeah,
It was announced
that
a long
sounds-
time
Along with
ago.
Bayonetta
Sounds right.
3. It's which was not there, despite Kamiya putting out like a picture of 3 Bayonetta Funko Pops before the direct.
That's amazing.
It was a very funny stab.
Yeah. So Shin Megami Tensei 5, it's got Jack Frost. I'm sold.
Yeah, it does. He said,
yeah.
"Ho, I was good."
Yep.
That sold me on it.
Let's see what else. We saw more Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
That looked good.
Looked pretty
In
good.
just-
yeah.
like, in
It
terms
looked
of
better at the Nintendo
style.
thing than
Yeah.
at the Ubisoft thing. The
Yeah, totally.
Ubisoft
Yeah,
was kind of loose the way they showed it at Ubisoft.
yeah, it was weird.
I bought the original Mario Rabbids for $12 on that
good.
sale. I'm gonna play it.
That's a
good game.
good price for that.
Yeah.
People are losing their damn minds saying like, oh, that game looks too good to be on a Switch. It must be proof of a Switch Pro.
Does not-
Stop
that game
stop
looks-
it.
It looks fine.
Okay.
Stop it.
First of all, lots of these games were shown running on computers
Yes.
that they were developed on.
Yes. Also, you can show anything you want
Yes.
in a pre-rendered cutscene.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's fine. There's no, money's on still that there
Well-
is a Switch Pro, there is a redesign coming, and it's not going to be one that improves performance or plays in 4K or whatever.
It might be 1080 handheld, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah,
that
maybe
is
the
like
screen could be better on a handheld.
Yeah.
The handheld version, but yeah, no.
It doesn't
And like
matter,
there's reasons like it doesn't run in 1080, like they don't do 1080 handheld anyway,
Yeah.
like power and stuff.
though.
But
Battery.
yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
battery's already bad on the Switch, so
Speaking of bad things on the Switch, Mario Party Superstars.
yeah, that it's
Feels
going to
like
be good for
punching down.
kids.
Yeah,
It-
I don't know.
Like it's
fine.
totally targeted at kids. It's not for
Yeah.
us.
It's got updates of classic N64 Mario Party games, and you can play online.
My mom will love that. She
Yeah,
loves
it'll
Mario
be-
Party.
It'll be good for families and stuff.
I'm
I'm not going to play it ever, but it's good
Yeah.
for what it is. Probably, maybe, who knows? But no, it did look good. Super Monkey Ball.
Oh fuck
Hell
yeah.
I love
yeah.
Super Monkey Ball.
I love me some Super Monkey Ball also.
It's super good.
I'm ambivalent. I don't
You
have
were
anything
deprived
to
of
say.
Super Monkey Ball as a child.
Well, it's okay, Andre.
Yeah,
we know
sure.
that you don't enjoy joy, so
No, that's me. I'm the one who hates joy. I love Super Monkey Ball because it is a pain simulator, because you fly off the edge and you want to fucking throw your GameCube controller at the TV. That's why
true.
I like Super Monkey Ball. It's not because it's cute. Like, it's great. It's cute for people who like cute things. I'm not there for the aesthetic. I'm there for the crushing difficulty that some of those courses have.
they do get really
There's
hard.
something,
Yeah.
there's something twisted about Alex, of all people, accusing me of not liking joy. And, like, every week he's like, oh yeah, I watched this anime and it's super dark and depressing.
Hell yeah. And also Super Monkey Ball.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah. WarioWare, get it together.
Fuck. Yes.
I'm excited about that.
I've got I've got a confession to make.
You've never played a WarioWare?
Yes.
That's
They're
fine.
great. They're super
They're good.
fun. They're like the microgame kind of thing. WarioWare perfected it, frankly. Like you got
That's
like stuff like
pretty good.
Frobisher Says and stuff kind of took it and ran.
I'm sorry,
and
you
did some
got
cool
what?
stuff. What?
What you got? What game?
Frobisher Says?
Oh, I've
That
never heard it said that way
Oh.
before.
Frobisher says.
Frobisher Says. Sorry. Frobisher Says. Yeah, that game
Never
that
played
game
either.
that game took it and ran with it in some really fun ways too. And like Rhythm Heaven is its own thing. It's not really micro games, but I'm super excited for a new WarioWare.
Yeah, it's cool that it has the co-op stuff. I think that's
Yeah,
great.
that could be great.
Uh,
That could be awesome.
I'm sure that my partner and I will have a lot of fun playing that.
Yeah.
So it'll be good. That Metroid reveal.
That's so good.
Hell yeah.
When it
That
said
robot.
Metroid 5, when
Yeah,
it said
that
Metroid
was
5,
awesome.
I like lost my fucking shit because I knew then that what it was going to be was like, oh my God, this is going to be a side-scrolling
The
Metroid.
2D, yeah.
They
2D side-scrolling.
they should have, but what
so
if
cool.
just like they put in a carrot and then underneath scribbled in Prime, and then they just skip right over. But like, you know,
That'd
what?
be funny
Metroid
in
Prime
its own way.
4, that game sucks. We're Metroid Prime 5.
We made it. We played it. It's bad. We're saving
No.
you from that. Now we're
What
on 5.
what they do is that old Square Enix E3 reveal of, okay, here's Metroid Prime 4 and here's Metroid Prime 5. It's an MMO.
Yeah.
And then there's also a phone game.
And also apparently Metroid Dread, one Patrick Klepek of Waypoint reported on this game showing up 16
10
years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think he reported on it being canceled 16 years
Yes.
ago.
Amazing.
And
yeah.
Like IGN had a story. It was like these leaked internal documents had all these games, and all the games came out, like including
Except
like
for-
Super Princess Peach, except for one, Metroid Dread.
I wonder. I don't know how much of that old game is in this one. It might just be
Probably
that they took.
It
almost,
sounds like
almost
it sounds. Yeah, it sounds like it had been like, you know, in and out of development and like
Yeah.
canceled and
Yeah.
restarted and stuff.
But man, that robot character, the Emmy or whatever, that's such a cool
Mhm.
design.
That's good.
Mhm.
It's
I loved
very.
it.
It's very
There's something
similar.
very funny about the way it moves, and like, so it like kind of like does some like jerky robot stuff and
It's-
like stands up, and then it's like, oh, now I'm gonna chase you, and it like folds all the way back under itself.
Yeah.
like,
It's very cool.
like
It's
360,
very.
it's
It
very
reminds
silly.
me very much of Dog from
Yeah,
Half-Life.
from Half-Life.
Yes,
Totally
yeah.
same.
Mhm.
Like especially the just the face thing.
It's
But
more agile, but I definitely was like, somebody played Half-Life while I was watching it.
yeah. But I loved it. Yeah. That game looks great. I'll definitely play that.
I saw people, like some developers that I follow and stuff, saying they think it looks bad, like visually, and I'm like,
Whatever.
what are you
looks
talking
fine.
about? Like it looks
It
like
looks like a Switch game. Yeah.
Yeah, like also it like, I don't know, I haven't gone back to like look at other trailers, but like stream is never a good place to
Yeah,
like,
some of the
judge
lighting
the look of
looks
a
like
game.
Switch light. I mean, it doesn't look like a PS5 game, but what the fuck do you expect?
like there.
It's a tablet from 2016 that it's running on.
Yeah, like it's definitely like the older Metroid games being like a pixely, you know, like more like
Yeah,
Game Boy or like Famicom.
Sure.
Like there's something to that art style, which we can actually get into with, you know, the next game that we're gonna talk about. But you know, we have to. It's a different time, so like the art is going to be different, and like they're not going to make another Metroid game that looks the exact same way. I don't think they should. They should
Yeah.
like take advantage of the things they can do with, you know, modern consoles and techniques. You know, if you don't care for the art style or think it's like I think it looks a little bland, but we saw such a small
Yeah, that's the thing.
part of the game, so it's hard to say. But speaking of the art in games, maybe not being,
Games
you know,
as art.
living up to the past in this Advanced Wars 1 and 2 reboot camp.
I'm so mad at Sam for showing me that, because I watched that thing at the press conference and I was like, oh yeah, it looks like Advanced Wars. It's fine. It's 3D now, but you know, it's like that's like what it used to look like. And then Sam was like in our chat, like, oh, it looks really bad. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And then he put side by side screenshots. That remake looks like shit. I am so upset about it now.
It's just sprites versus models, you know. Like I imagine
But
they're
the
going to do more
models are
stuff with the
so.
models.
I hope the models are so flat. There's
Yeah,
like
they don't look like
They
it's
look like
simple.
Playmobil toys
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
like Mega Blocks.
They look like they don't have textures
Yeah,
practically.
but for me, I don't care. I think I've been on record
mean,
as saying visuals don't matter to me that much, but like
if
as
this
long as
were
it plays.
Yeah, if this were a new Advance Wars game, I wouldn't care. The fact that it's a remake of the original ones when all of that original art exists and is so much better, I'm kind of like, just put the originals there. Like
Pixel perfect remake.
Yeah,
like
just
the Final
just use
Fantasy
the
1 to
pixels. They're
6
so
on
cool
Steam and
looking.
mobile. Yeah,
That old art is so good. So that's my issue. But
yeah,
you know,
but,
I'm very excited it's happening because Advance Wars is one of my favorite Nintendo games ever.
Yeah.
mhm.
Something I might end up picking up. Oh, sorry.
I don't know if I ever. Oh yeah, I don't know if I ever played Advanced Wars. I played. What there was a similar game on like PSP. But
yes, they made a clone of it on PSP, and it wasn't.
And I played
good.
that. Okay,
I remember. I don't remember what it was called,
it,
but
Mitran Wars.
I mean, maybe
no.
Advance Wars is the same studio as Fire Emblem. So that's where, and I always was bummed. I like Fire Emblem, but I was always bummed that Advance Wars kind of fell off, and they kept making, because I liked Advance Wars more than Fire Emblem.
It's because they needed Sakurai needed more Smash characters, so
and it's harder to put it.
They had to keep making. Yeah, they had to keep making Fire Emblem so Smash could have new characters.
What's cool about Advance Wars is it's the same kind of perspective as Fire Emblem, and a lot of the UI elements look similar. The gameplay though is like completely different, because instead of having specific people that have permadeath and are like leveling up, it's more structured like an RTS, where it's still turn-based tactics, but it's more structured like an RTS where you have like factories that are making tanks, and then you roll the tanks out, and then there's indirect fire and stuff just like in Fire Emblem, but it's on like a different scale. And it's really, it still has the rock paper scissors kind of stuff in terms of, you know, tanks being better against infantry and aircraft being better against tanks and stuff, but it's so cool. It's such a fantastic series, and I'm really excited for the remake, because I'm sure that the gameplay will be there. I just am so hard on the visuals, because I wish that they would just include an option to let you play with the old sprites.
I don't think they've said that that's not in there.
No, if I complain, as we know, if I complain loudly enough about a thing, maybe it seems like they always fix it. So I've been rewarded for complaining before, and I'm going to keep doing it now.
All right. Yeah.
They're my sprites, and I
you
need them.
Don't
when
see
I
the
want
point.
them.
Why would they do this? And the opposite will happen. Yeah.
Well, except I can't say that with a straight face, because I'm very excited for these games to come back. I really hope they have online multiplayer, because I could just emulate them if I wanted pixel perfect gameplay. But I would love to be able to play this with like people not near me, and if they could. I know this is asking a lot, but if they could work in asynchronous multiplayer, oh man, that would
Advance Wars by email.
It does have online.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure
it would be the perfect game for asynchronous multiplayer.
It has online.
If you could do the Civ thing where you start the game when each person has very simple turns by playing live, and then save it, and then start doing it asynchronously. Oh, it'd be great.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. This one I got excited about, Astria Ascending, because it reminded me. It looks a little, so it's like it's the 2D anime-y looking, like there's like beast people and stuff, and then it's kind of, it looks like it's got Valkyrie profile combat, like you're four people and like a diamond, and
oh right, that one, yeah.
Like it's got really nice art. And like, I saw the combat screen. I was like, "Oh, are we Valkyrie profile here? Is that what we're doing?" Because for some reason, like I played that on the PSP, and I'm like, Valkyrie profile, even though I don't remember like anything from that game other than the combat screens, kinda, and it being also good.
I'm looking at this Nintendo Life image of all the games they showed, which is incomplete, because although maybe this is what, I can't remember. It was a Fatal Frame thing that they showed.
Yeah,
that was the Wii U game.
Yeah.
Maiden of Blackwater.
Yeah, okay. They have it as Project Zero on this image then. That's why.
Oh, weird. What?
I don't know why. Maybe that's the name in Japan or something. I don't know. Fatal Frame is awesome though. I'm very excited to be able to play that Wii U game. I'm sure I don't necessarily know if it's a great game, but I would enjoy playing a spooky game like that. And I can handle some jank.
I think I heard it was good.
We use that weird wasteland of like so
Yeah.
many good games came out there that never got any buzz, so it's hard to know if it was shovelware
and
or
also like Fatal Frame is like is kind of weird, and like sometimes they're out only in Japan or whatever, or not
well,
in the
and
US, and
they have some uneven quality. There are some
yes,
really good Fatal Frame games and some really bad ones. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
no,
Fatal
it's
Frame is the
consistently-
series.
No, please go for it.
I was going to say Fatal Frame is a series. I wanted to get into horror games when I was a kid, and it was teen rated, so I was able to sell my mom on renting it when I was like 13, and then it scared me so bad that I was like, I'm never playing a horror game again. And that's why it took me so long to get back into horror games, even though I've always liked horror movies a lot.
I can bring it home with Fatal Frame.
I know, yeah.
But know what's consistently good? Unlike
Just
Fatal
Dance
Frame?
2022.
Yep.
I've never played Just. I have played Just Dance.
The
I don't
Cruisin'
get it. I don't. I
series.
can't do it.
You guys nailed it. But also
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
1 plus 2. Yep. We can quick fire those. But Danganronpa and that collection looks fucking rad, especially because they have basically a board game, like a fully fleshed out board game version in there now.
Which
like whatever
was
that summer.
Yeah,
it was in 3, but it was not very fleshed out. Like,
well, I think it's the one from 2.
was it?
I'm not. I think so. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
There are different. Like that one was like. Because it's on the
It
island.
would make sense because it's the island, but yeah, I don't know.
And like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It looks
Yeah,
good,
all
though.
the characters are from 2, so I think that
that
one
would
is
make sense then.
specifically the second game because they don't have the other games on here. They just like on the list I'm looking at, they just only have
Yeah,
like the
I'm looking at
Danganronpa S or
the
whatever. Yeah,
but yeah, I'm looking at the board game and like Kaede and stuff are in there, so it's definitely using characters from 3.
oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know, but that looks cool, and the collector's edition is rad. It comes with
yeah,
like this super sick cloth poster and all this stuff. Yeah, it looks good. Anyways, V3 is an amazing game. 2 is good too. 1's fine.
They're all good.
I'm gonna finally play those on Switch. It seems like the place I've wanted them.
Easy to put down, pick up. Like,
Yeah,
you don't have
and
to,
I'll
like,
just
worry
plug
about
the Switch.
saving
I'll
and
just plug the
stuff.
Switch into a charger next to my bed, not even put
Yeah.
it in the dock, slide it into the case when I'm not using it, and play them that
And
way. That's how I've been
that's
doing my
great.
reading, and it's good.
It's a very good game to just be like, I'm just going to do like Persona style. I'm going to do one day. Make
It
to
seems
the end of that
very
day
silly,
and then do other stuff.
but a big stumbling block for visual novels. Not that, I mean, Danganronpa is a little more of an adventure game, along with being a visual novel. But one of my big stumbling blocks with those games is there's some mental block that I have about sitting down on my computer, opening Steam, and launching a VN and launching a book. Totally, that's it. You nailed it. Whereas I just feel like I want to pick up the thing and start reading. So like, you know, I managed to make it work really well when I read stuff on my phone because I just like have the books app on my home screen, so I can launch and be looking at a book in seconds. So being able to just have it paused on Switch to pick up and play will be a way for me to finally get through it.
Yeah, I think mobile platforms are really excellent for that kind of style thing.
Yeah. Not to say that anyone is wrong to develop and play visual novels on PCs. It's just for me is a tough sell.
One of the best places to read a book when you're taking a dump.
For sure. Yeah.
You can't really do that at your computer, or you probably shouldn't.
I feel weird about taking my Switch into
the
the
dumpatorium.
bathroom. Yeah. I just not so much about phone. Phone is fine, which is weird because the phone is the thing you put up to your face sometimes.
You use it far more frequently.
If you use your phone in the toilet, you could have a book in the dark.
Yeah.
You turn the lights off when you're pooping?
I'm just saying it's a possibility. Hey, you tell me. You're the one who brought a dump in the dark to this podcast.
Yeah, like 3.5 years ago.
Hey, you're the one. So if there's a dump in the dark, there could also be a book in the dark with where this conversation is at.
Anyways, Nintendo stuff was good. What did y'all think of the Hyrule Warriors thing?
That's cool. I don't know. I like that game. I haven't finished it though. So
the weapons they showed, like the
was cool
or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. If this is like a hint of what we might see in Breath of the Wild 2, a name withheld.
The other things I want to say real quick about that was at that show. There's 3 things. One, Strange Brigade sucks. So don't be fooled. Don't buy that game on Switch.
Never played it.
It's not a good game. It's like passable in co-op. Like we had some fun playing it cooperatively, my friends and I on PC. It's not you're not going to play that game co-op with your friends on Switch. And if you're not playing that game co-op, it's like Left 4 Dead structure and with cool art, but it's anyway. Mario Golf, the stuff they showed, it looks like it's going to be the thing that both Allison and I want, which I'm extremely excited about, because was like, if that game is just an RPG and there isn't just like really good, like I just want to play a round of golf with a Mario character, I was going to be disappointed. And Allison, for good reason, she's been following that series closer, was kind of like, well, it's probably going to be more of an RPG the way the 3DS one was. And it looks like from what they showed, it's going to have the RPG thing if you want to play through that. But then it's also going to have really good support for a bunch of cool different kinds of arcade rounds. Yeah.
It looks awesome.
So I'm super pumped because it looks like it has everything that everyone would want. And
there's a course in New Donk City.
Yeah, it's great. And then that like battle arena course looked awesome.
Oh, it looks so dumb. I loved it. Yeah.
And then I was surprised at how interested I was in the Monster Hunter Stories 2 trailer. That looks fantastic. That game looks really good.
Looks cool.
I saw it at the Capcom thing. I was like, oh, actually, do I want to play Stories?
I may just not do my thing and just pick this one up instead of playing the first one, because I think the first one's only on 3DS anyway. I did not like that they kept calling them Monsties. That was not my favorite.
Monsties
I
and
did.
Posty.
Bad
Hey everybody,
mouthfeel
it's
on
Posty. Saying hi to E3.
God. Monsties has a bad mouthfeel for me, but otherwise that game looks fantastic. Like visually, it looked really good, and not in the way that it's proof of a Switch Pro. I just think it has a really cool art style that works with the hardware.
Yeah.
Know what else had great hardware? Game & Watch, Legend of Zelda edition, whatever.
I think it's cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's cute. It's fine.
That segment made me so mad.
The thing I would save your rage a little bit, because the big scuttlebutt that lots of people are reporting is that they have Twilight Princess ready to go. It's just they don't want to cannibalize interest in Skyward Sword.
That's smart.
Twilight Princess will probably be in a direct later this summer or something. I mean, who knows? But it sounds like the work is being done on Twilight Princess, and that it's gonna happen.
The interactive clock on the Game & Watch made me laugh because it was so dumb.
It's a cute little thing.
Yeah, it's fine.
We have no other games or whatever. I was like, are you kidding me right now?
But Breath of the Wild 2 looked cool. I don't know. That's proof of life from that game. It's good to see.
They said, what was it? They're withholding the title for now because it will give hints as to what happens in the story.
There's a lot of speculation from very hopeful fans that it's going to be like, it's actually going to be about Ganon coming back to life, and you help him break the cycle of his that always happens, and it's going to be the linchpin game that finally unifies all the timelines and stuff. And it's not. You're going to play as Link, and you're going to do some cool shit, and you're not going to play as Zelda. You're going to play as Link, and you're probably going to fight Ganon again at the end, and whatever. I'm excited for that game still. I don't think they're going to make it the very interesting, weird, fourth wall breaking narrative experiment that people and I want. But
did they open cool. that trailer with Link falling through the clouds like in Skyward Sword?
Yep.
Yes,
that was very funny to me, the way they opened that, because I was like, wait, are they just like trolling people and showing more Skyward Sword?
I do think
oh no, okay, it's not.
I do think there's some that it makes sense that they're pushing Skyward Sword along with this thing, because I think they want to get people like excited about the clouds and stuff. I don't.
Yeah.
Some people are saying Skyward Sword being the game is proof that this is going to be wild narratively, and that it's going to that Breath of the Wild 2 is linked to Skyward Sword somehow, and I just don't think so. I don't think Nintendo are that cool. I think they're too
not at all
safe for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like they'll maybe do some, like, it might complicate the timeline or do something interesting, or if it ties into like Hyrule Warriors, that's cool.
Oh, it will. I'm sure it will.
Like the story of Hyrule Warriors has some like cool stuff and like sets up some wild implications. So to see what that could be is intriguing. So like I was saying, they're withholding the title because of plot reasons. Do you have any thoughts on what the title might be? Like your hot take, here's the title of the Breath of the Wild 2. Fall of Hyrule, because it's in the sky, and at the end of the game it falls out of the sky.
Yeah, I could see that. Especially, I could see it being, one thing I can see is it being maybe not one where you fight. If they could be doing a trilogy kind of thing here, and this could be sort of the middle chapter, I could definitely see that. I don't know, like, I could see it being, the problem is it's not going to have Zelda in the subtitle because it's called The Legend of Zelda, so that would be redundant and not work. The
Legend of Link.
I could see it. So I could see it being like The Legend of Zelda: Link's Departure or something like that, like some kind of like playing into the like Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, like having the Link, bringing back the Link being in the title thing. But I don't know that I have anything fun in mind that I think it could be.
In the blink of an eye, but the L is capitalized.
Yeah, and the B is lowercase.
The missing
Correct.
link.
See, now that would play into everyone's weird theories about if that would be a really good title if it was the game that was like, now there's one mainline Zelda story.
Except it's just, but that game is just Mario is missing, but with Link.
One can hope.
Or Majora's Mask 2. What everyone's really hoping for.
Zelda, Majora's Mask. It's me. If they did that, I would do the Leonardo DiCaprio thing.
Which Leonardo DiCaprio thing? There's a lot of those.
The pointing at the screen.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Just, you could do like the Inception stare, the Wolf of Wall Street dance, you know. Like
I think about that pointing at the screen meme a lot, because
only dating women under 28 years old, you know.
It just came up recently because I'm going to go to Portland for a IndyCar race, and one of the support races happens to be a car that I drive a lot in iRacing, and so everyone was like, we got to go for Saturday so we can watch that car and just do that Leonardo DiCaprio meme the whole time.
All right, well, was there any Devolver had some interesting games. We didn't talk about it, but it looked like there was some good stuff in there. I still haven't seen the full thing, but I want to get to that. Anything that we didn't get to that you guys saw that you were like, oh yeah?
Not really.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think we covered the majority of it.
Yeah. All right. There's that Steam game demo or Steam Game Fest or whatever's going on right now.
Yeah, it was a person that I know.
Many demos.
An acquaintance has a demo in that thing that I got to check out, but I meant to do it before the show, but I will do it before next week's show.
I was going to say
over on the 22nd.
Yeah. One game that came out this week that I still recommend is Chicory. We talked about it probably a couple months ago because I played the demo. And the demo fucking ripped. Apparently that game is excellent, but that's unrelated to E3. It just happened to come out this week.
They showed it in the Summer Game Fest. That's what. So we did talk about it.
Yeah, that game rips.
So right, there's more news on this list. I forgot.
Oh yeah, there's a couple little things. We don't have to go too crazy.
There's a couple months ago, Sony did some sort of like teaser for a game called, like, from a new studio or not a new studio, from a studio. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's like Silent Hill, it's Kojima, blah blah blah." And then the studio came and was like, "We're not Kojima." And they like the studio had like some failed kick, like Steam, like greenlight things or whatever. Like they had like they've been around. It was the implication from all that stuff. And now everyone's back at it again, saying it's Kojima. And then even like Jeff Keighley's like, "Oh, well, I've been DMing with the head of the studio, and if Keighley's involved, now it's like, is it Kojima?" And like,
It's but they're very, very sticking to their gun, saying no, we're not related. But then they were kind of also playing it up.
yeah, because they were like, "No, we're not Kojima," and then they were tweeting like, "Oh, the name of our game is like abandoned," and then another word, first letter S, last letter L. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop it. Get some help.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the weird conspiracy theory stuff and like whole Reddit threads of people pulling together like tweets and like crossing, like doing the Pepe da Silva thing of, you know, all the lines and strings crossed and just like going crazy. It's been weird to watch.
I think it probably is Silent. I am sold on it being the thing that everyone thinks it is. I just don't feel that the ARG was particularly good. Like people figured it out really fast, and then to cover for it, the Blue Box Studio was like, that's not it. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's very much like the Wizard of Oz, like pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yes. And so I feel like at this point, everyone should just go, it's probably this, and just move on. Like, whose Twitter it was. So there's
if people want to have fun with it.
Yeah.
It's the more interesting.
Go for it.
The more interesting thing to me would be if it actually isn't Kojima, and they're just they're like going through and doing all this stuff to mess with people.
I follow. I don't know if either of you are familiar with Mark Delaney's work. He writes for. He's a freelancer. He contributes to a bunch of different places. I follow him on Twitter, and he had he's been talking about how he had a meeting, like a call with this Hassan guy who supposedly runs Blue Box, and for a story, and he was claiming that it's not a thing. It's not the ARG is nothing. It's just, they're just an indie studio. And I don't know if it's really that he's in on it, or if he thinks if he was sold that and they were lying. Like, I don't know. Or if it really is not a thing. There's a possibility that that's true too. Either way, the people in his mentions, when he was like, people should really drop this, it's not that big of a deal, let it go. The people in his mentions were like, you fucking piece of trash. I can't believe that you would try to sell us on this, you fucking liar. And it's like, just chill out.
Yeah.
Just go back up. Yeah. There's still real people behind this thing. Slow your rage roll. Go outside. Like, do something else with your time. like,
yeah.
If it's Silent Hill, they'll announce it soon. If it's not, it's not. Stop having meltdowns on the internet about this thing.
It could be Silent Hill. I think people are going to be pissed if it's not Kojima. Is like a whole other thing. If it's not Kojima Silent Hill, it's going to be like, you know, pants sweatingly angry like gamers.
I think if it's not, it's the thing that I thought it was initially. And I still think there's a very good possibility it could be this, which is this guy runs this indie studio. He's kind of an enigmatic person, and he saw an opportunity to build a shitload of awareness for his studio and his new thing by playing this game and building up this ARG. And I've talked to a couple of people who are like, well, if that were the case, Sony and Konami would not be letting him get away with it. And it's like, they haven't done anything that is a blatant infringement on anything. Everyone else is drawing all these conclusions. There is nowhere where they have said our game is Silent Hill. Like they've teased it around it, but
they literally said, "Hey,
they're playing the game.
We're not that." And sure, but you know, they've got a very savvy like you know, if it is just them being like
if
playing into it,
yes.
they've got a very savvy like social media, like PR
Yes.
marketing person.
If it's not actually a Silent Hill thing, it's the reverse of what I said at the top, which is this is really smart and clever.
It's
I mean, I can totally see that. I can totally see that.
That's what I hope it is.
Sure.
Yeah, because like Kojima has kind of made a name for himself, well, among other things, but like subverting expectations, right? Like saying one thing and then it's being something else, and the whole Moby, whatever, Dick Studio, etc., like all that stuff. Like, but no one else really does that. So if they're just kind of learning from that and cribbing the style and like going for like, you know, alluding to the same kind of stuff, that's fine. Like no one else is doing it. Cool. Do it.
Worst thing you're gonna do is piss off a bunch of people who.
Yeah, and now they've heard of your game.
A little pissed off.
Yeah, like they've heard of your studio, they've heard of your game. Net win for them. Like it's fine. I don't see anything wrong with it.
The things that do sell me on, I still think I would not be surprised if it turns out that it is the Silent Hill thing. Is the Keeley connection is weird because he's like he can barely keep a straight face whenever he talks about it, and that combined with the fact that they did that weird Proof of Life video with Kojima is just like, that thing was such a strange thing even to put in a show as poorly paced as the Summer Games Fest thing.
He always wants to put Kojima in everything he does.
But I know, but I could see, I would say that they had such a long conversation about stuff.
9/11, baby.
That was
perhaps weird. Yeah, it was weird. Well, and it was weird, right? Like that's what I'm getting at is I think that it was a weird enough conversation that I could see there still being that connection there. But I'm also not.
I don't know, Kojima's a weird dude.
I'm not crusading about this.
Yeah.
It could easily go either way, and you know, I think it's fun to watch it play out. I think if you're someone who's getting into game writers' mentions to tell them they're a piece of shit because they don't support your desire for a new Silent Hill, you need to take a step back. And I do think it kind of sucks if it is a Kojima thing that they obviously that was something that was going to happen in all of this, and maybe they could have. They know that it's going to rile people up and get people like arguing with each other. Maybe try to take more steps to not fuel that.
Sure. Yeah. Like again, like people immediately are like Silent Hill, like where Kojima, like when that first like trailer hit, and they're like, no. And it's like, if they caught you, they caught you. Like, come on. And like my biggest, it's not Kojima hint is, I know writers who use subtext, and none of them are named Hideo Kojima.
Yeah,
that
man, he doesn't know how that works.
The phantom pain when they revealed that trailer and were like, "Oh, Moby Dick Studios." Metal Gear Solid was literally spelled in the negative space of that like logo. Like people figured that out within hours, and like "Oh, it's Metal Gear Solid."
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly conclusions you can draw in this whole thing, like the fact that their Twitter is BB Game Studios. Like,
sure, yeah,
but it's the thing people that are way down this rabbit hole aren't thinking about is that any person can look at all of that stuff and go, well, I could do that. I mean, anyone can put together a bunch of weird clues like this to make it seem like it's a Kojima thing.
Like that studio's been around since 2015. So maybe they've been planning this since 2015.
It's hard to know.
Like that account, like it's,
I imagine they're just playing the game.
And I think there's every possibility that that's the case.
Yeah, it's either way, like, you know, it's fun to observe, but I'm not getting sucked into this one.
No, I like to see when new stuff. I'm going to read this story that Mark Delaney wrote because I like his writing, but which he apparently couldn't find a publisher for, which is weird, but so it's just a Google Doc, but whatever. It's interesting enough to me, but I would only go so far with this as it is fun for you. The minute that it becomes something you're like being an
Stressed
ass
about
about,
it.
losing sleep
Yeah.
about, like definitely
Yeah.
just pump your brakes a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Just watch some kitty cat videos.
Well, yeah, that's a great thing to do after a podcast, like after this podcast, which
Racing
we're gonna
cars
wrap
is a
up.
good thing to do too after podcasts. I'm gonna
Also
do
a
that.
good thing to do. Go to
And-
sleep.
Another thing, enter the lottery for a Tamagotchi watch.
Oh yeah.
I guess.
I don't know if you've heard about that.
Tamagotchis.
Like, I feel like, why is there like not a Tamagotchi like phone app, and then like you like
There might
think
be.
so.
like hit with like
What I
microtransactions
can
every
tell
day. Like,
you-
oh, you wanna make it really happy, you gotta buy like the good Tamagotchi food for like $5.99.
What I can tell you that I have escaped it thus far, but at one point
Best
we'll
value.
break down. There is like a $65 Tamagotchi you can purchase that is gorgeous and has a really beautiful like screen,
Oh.
and then you can connect them with like your friends, and your Tamagotchis can get married and stuff. And I was real close to buying Tamagotchis for my partner and I at one point, but then I was like, $65. Are we really going to even like play with these things after a day or two?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know. They're
Yeah.
cool though.
Bandai Tamagotchi watch, like, come on, who?
You can still get original Tamagotchis too. That's
Yeah, well, I mean, they kind of reissued them like in the last like 2 years or
2018,
so.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did Ava ones. Like you can get an Evangelion Tamagotchi.
it's cool. I think it's great. It's
I
neat
didn't
stuff.
see that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Gaming Fyx podcast. It is currently 69 degrees Fahrenheit according
Nice.
to Windows
Nice.
in Japan, where I'm at. And
Yeah.
what a nice time to be 69 degrees on episode 177, June 19th, 2021. I have been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite E from E3. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. If I get some time this week, maybe I'll write a review for Ratchet and Clank. But I gotta study for this test. Pat, where can people find you?
Is it like the Andre and then the last letter of your name is the E, first E, and then Entertainment Expo?
The Andre Entertainment. No, it's the electronic entertainment
Andre Expo?
Yeah, no, the electronic
I want to go to
entertainment
I want to go to
Andre.
the Electronic Andre Expo.
Hell yeah.
So that's part of the
license
porn
your-
show in Vegas.
Whoa,
That's
I was
the
gonna go
adult,
with-
the Adult Entertainment Expo. That's the Andre Entertainment Expo is also the I just piggyback off the AEE.
I was gonna say you could sell your likeness to Tamagotchi so that people could have an electronic Andre.
Andre Gotchi.
Yeah, exactly. You can find me at PJC Plays on Twitter. That's all I got.
And Alex.
I don't know. Reading a book, probably.
Sure, what are you reading?
House of Fata Morgana, because it's basically a book.
You caught him. You called the bluff. Owned.
Yeah.
Owned.
Got him. You can keep up with the podcast on social media, on Twitter at Fyx Podcasts. We post our stuff there, and you can, if there's something else like a review or whatever, you'll find it there. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back next week. We'll try to get a question thread up next week so you can have your question right on the air, or you can email us at gaming@fyx.space. There it is.
You got there.
In the end, it's the destination, not the journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my destination is bed, because I gotta get up and slay some orcs in 5.5 hours. Have a good one, everybody.
You too.
See ya.
I'll try. Thought about how Sia sounds like Cena, but you can't see him.
I already stopped my recording. So
me too. That was just for you.
Thank you.